Good morning. Good morning. It's so nice to see you all. Jenny Jen, Allie X, Bonnie, Donnie, and Heathen. Good to see y'all. We just got to court. I believe she's on time today. Hey, Abellis, my love. Good to see you.
Caden's one is dead.
Okay, but it's off, right?
Yeah.
I've told you not to be saying names, please. Thank you.
So, I'm gonna make it if you wash the pot, if you wash the pan, I'll make it.
Okay, so we don't have any volume yet in the court. I'm going to make this full screen and take the background off. I'm going to be working on also trying to figure out how to make it not glitchy, because when Stern's trial comes, it can't be glitchy. I'm thinking about going to the tiny house if my landlord will let me to like stream, see if it's like less glitchy. I've been thinking about getting Starlink.
Good morning.
Do any of y'all have Starlink?
Thank you. All right, we are here today to
Seems to be
resume the
less
trial
glitchy.
of State of Connecticut
Hey,
versus
bad
Jose
girl.
Morales.
Hey, Miss Sarah.
I'll ask counsel to please place your appearances on the record.
Morning, Your Honor. Supervisory Assistant State's Attorney Howard Stein.
Morning, Your Honor. Mark Durso, Senior Assistant State's Attorney.
Good morning, Your Honor. Edward Gavin from Mr. Morales, who's seated to my left.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Before I bring the jury in this morning, are there any preliminary matters to be heard by the court?
No, Your
After the
Honor.
state, Your Honor.
You're all set? Okay. So, Madam Clerk, please bring in our jury.
Allo is the only good internet. You have Starlink, Alex. Do you like it? Hey, Amanda. Southern Cat's good to see you. I hope you're having a good day, love. Y'all, I need to know where y'all found that. Y'all were talking about Temu having dog teeth bone necklaces yesterday. I was talking about it, and I need to get some evidence. Island Girl Diana, good to see you. So, okay, this is Jose Morales. He smoked PCP on
Good morning.
Thanksgiving
Welcome
weekend
back,
of
ladies and gentlemen of the
2019.
jury. We are ready to proceed. Counsel, please stipulate to the return of our jurors here this morning.
He beat his girlfriend, Christine Holloway, to death. She was found nude in the bathtub, beaten to death, her brain removed. Their 1-year-old daughter, Vanessa, is still missing to this day. Trial is Monday through Friday. There is a video, Island Girl Diana, that kind of catches you up on the case, but it doesn't mention her brain being removed, because we found that out through watching trial. But it's like a 3-minute video on my page that will catch you up on the trial. Or the case, I bet, not on the trial. I made it before we started trial.
Please remain standing. Madam Clerk will put you under oath.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury? Yes. Please state your full name, spell your last name, and state your business address for the record, please.
It's Jacqueline Trosser, Trosser, 65 Main Street, Ansonia, Connecticut.
Okay, thank you.
You may be seated. Thank you.
Allie, I'm in the middle of nowhere, so I need good internet. Thank you for letting me know. My landlord has it, but she has issues sometimes. I'm surprised the defense didn't have any issues this morning. Seems like we're getting on with trial. Maybe this will be a good Friday. Y'all, I woke up late.
Good morning, Officer Trosser. How are you?
Hey, Ava.
First of all,
Tim.
a couple things. That microphone in front of you does an awful job amplifying, so if you can kind of pull yourself up and get your voice into that mic so we can all hear you. Very good. So, can you tell us, who are you employed by?
The City of Ansonia,
And in what capacity?
a patrol officer.
Patrol officer.
And again, your voice really,
Sorry, a patrol officer.
thank you. How long have you been a member of the Ansonia Police Department?
17 years.
And can you tell us a little bit about your background, your training and experience?
I was hired in 2008, where I completed the Milford Police Academy after 6 months. I still remain as a patrol officer now. I'm a field training officer, which provides me ability to train the new officers coming in. I'm on the bike patrol, and I am also certified to dispatch.
Okay. Let's talk about that last thing that you told us about. Tell us what goes into your ability to be a certified dispatcher.
You have to be trained and certified on the 911 system. You have to be certified in Collect, which is the state system.
And do you hold those certifications?
Yes.
Can you tell me, I want to call your attention generally to December of 2019. Were you employed by the Ansonia Police Department on that date?
Yes.
Or in that time frame, I'm sorry. I now want to specifically bring you to December the 1st of 2019. Do you recall, were you working for the City of Ansonia Police Department on December 1?
So I restarted my internet. It seems to be doing good. We shall see. Bad girl, are you feeling better, sweetheart? I know you had some stuff going on. Good morning, Nessa.
Of 2019.
Yes.
In what capacity?
I was dispatching that evening.
Okay. So let's start first by acclimating ourselves to days of the week. Was December 1st of 2019, was that a Saturday?
I started at 11 p.m. Saturday night.
Okay. And did your shift go over into the early morning hours of Sunday? I'm sorry. Do I have the dates right? 12/1. Right. So I'm sorry. What time did you start working?
11 p.m.
And what was the date that you started to work? Would it have been November the 30th?
Yes.
Okay. So that was Saturday, November the 30th.
Correct.
Okay. At 11 p.m.
Yes.
Good morning, Kathleen and
And that
Ashley.
your shift goes over through the midnight hours and it becomes Sunday now, December 1.
Correct.
And were you working the Ansonia 911 dispatch center during your shift?
Yes.
Were you working with anyone else besides yourself?
Myself.
Does on occasion, will other members of the Ansonia Police Department during the course of a shift come into the dispatch center?
Yes, they do.
So it's not unusual for somebody else to be in there with you.
Yes, they can come in.
So I want to call your attention to now Sunday morning, so approximately 3 hours into your shift, just before 2 a.m. in the morning. Do you recall getting a 911 call?
Yes.
Now let's stop there for a second and explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury when a police department, are they called like a PSAP center? When a police department receives a 911 phone call, what does that do on your end of the call?
It's a different type of ring than the landline.
Okay.
And it's a different system, different phone.
All right. Is there any computers attached to it?
Yes.
And do you receive any information with regard to anything pertaining to the call?
Yes, you can see a phone number. You can see a location of where the phone is, depending on what type of phone it is. If it's a landline, it will come back to the address. Sometimes cellular phones will come in an area of it, or it comes back to a cell tower.
Okay. Now, with regard to this particular 911 call that you received shortly before 2 a.m. on December the 1st, did it show up as a landline call?
No, it did not.
Did it show up as a cellular call?
Yes.
Did it come back and give you a precise location of where the phone was originating from?
It came back to a cell tower.
Okay. And do you recall where the cell tower was?
South Cliff Street in Ansonia.
All right. And when you, did you answer the 911 phone call?
Yes, I did.
And when you answered the 911 phone call, can you just generally describe in your own words the course of what you heard?
I answered by saying, Ansonia 911. There was a male voice on the other line that stated 3 different times Myrtle Ave. During that time, I tried to obtain an address or location on Myrtle Ave by asking, what's the house number, what is your location on Myrtle Ave. I also, during that phone call, after that, the male voice kind of stopped, and then I heard a female voice in the background that stated something as, hang up, stop, who are you talking to? And then after that, I continued to say hello a few times, but I also listened in the background to hear the male and female talking quietly in the background. And I listened to that for a period of time before the phone call was disconnected on the other end.
Do you know what the total length of the phone call was?
A minute and 14 seconds.
During the time that you were listening, after the initial male voice, where you could hear the male and female just quietly talking in the background.
Wanda, good morning.
Did you hear anything else occurring?
No,
Did you hear any signs of screaming or yelling?
no,
Did you hear any signs of fighting or anything breaking?
no.
My theory on this is that he was high and she knew he was high and he's freaking out and like having panic attacks and anxiety, and she knows there's nothing wrong or thinks there's nothing wrong at that point, like that there aren't people coming into the house, and that he's tripping, and she's kind of trying to get him to calm down so the police don't come out. Like, I'm wondering if that's the case. Because if he's freaking out like that and seeing things, I'm sure she knew something was going on. So I'm thinking she's like trying to calm him down and saying, you know, you're just high, calm down, quit calling 911. We don't need the cops here. That's just my theory. But then when you take into consideration that they talk about another male's DNA being there, I mean, it could throw that scenario out the window. I don't know. What do y'all think? What do you think she was thinking at that time when he called 911 and she's like, what are you doing? Hang up the phone. Stop calling people. What do you guys think?
Did you hear any voices screaming, hey, get out of my house, or anything along those lines?
No,
Did you hear anything that sounded like physical violence in any way?
no,
Are you aware, first of all, going back for a second, the male voice that said, I think you said Myrtle Ave 3 times. Did you make any observations with regard to the voice?
the male's voice was slurred a little.
All
Yes.
And would you have any basis and knowledge of to why that voice is slurring?
There's many different reasons that it could be slurring.
Can you just give us a few of them?
It could be a medical issue such as a stroke, diabetes. It could be the person just woke up and is groggy. It could be a speech impairment. It could be intoxication. There's many different reasons.
So are you sitting there and assessing the quality of the person's voice, or are you trying to ascertain what assistance they need?
I'm trying to obtain what assistance they need.
Now, with regard to these 911 calls, does the city of Ansonia record these calls when they come into the dispatch center?
Yes, they do.
Prior to coming into court today, did you have an opportunity to listen to any 911 calls?
Yes, I did.
And did you listen to?
Good morning, Ginger Snaps and my lovely Cara. Good to see y'all. Thank you for being here today.
The 911 call, which is the subject of what we're discussing here now.
Yes, I did.
And when you listened to it, did it sound to be a fair and accurate representation of the 911 call which you remembered participating in on December 1 of 2019?
Yes.
And I'll offer this at this point, Your Honor.
Okay.
Beach Bum, I didn't see you come in. Good morning, love.
Attorney Gavin?
Why does it attach?
Are you aware whether the Ansonia Police Department sent this disc out to enhance the audio quality of the call?
Yes,
And is this the enhanced copy that you listened to?
I believe so.
Your Honor, I've listened to the disc. I have no objection to the introduction of the enhanced 911 call.
Okay, so do we have a stipulation that it's an enhanced version, counsel?
Yes.
All right, and what is the exhibit number?
Exhibit 162, Your Honor.
All right, so court will accept into evidence as full 162. Thank you.
So just play the first one for me. Yeah, the full court. When the call ended, did you terminate the call?
No.
Did the call that called you, were they the parties that terminated the call?
Yes.
Now, with regard to when you received that call, can you tell me what steps, if any, you took after receiving that phone call?
I tried to call the number back.
Okay. And how is it that you were able to call the number back?
It's on the caller ID on the 911 line.
So the number that was calling you was being displayed on the screen?
Yes,
Okay. And did you call that number back?
I did.
And again, is that something, did you listen to a series of further calls from you this morning? Did you hear that prior to coming into court today?
Yes, I did.
And are they all fair and accurate representations?
Yes, they are.
So would it be fair to say that you made a call at 1:54 and 3 seconds would be your first attempt to call back?
Yes.
Can you play that for me, please?
Good to see you, Chaz and Michael. Jesus, I'm sorry. I don't know what the fuck that was. Good Lord. I am so sorry. That wasn't me. I am so sorry, y'all.
So In that clip, Officer Trosser, first of all, we heard a set of dialing. There was 2 rings. Then the call terminated, and the second dialing in that clip. Can you explain that for us, please?
The first one, I believe I dialed the wrong number, so I hung it up, and then I called the correct number back.
So at 1:54 in the morning, you called somebody else's phone totally unconnected to this?
Possibly.
And when you realized that, did you terminate the call and call back the number that you had on your screen?
Yes.
And is that the complete dialing that we heard go to voicemail?
Yes.
Now, after making that first attempt, did you make any additional attempts?
Yes.
When did you make an additional attempt?
I believe a minute after the first call.
So at 1:55 and 58 seconds, did you initiate another attempt to call back the 911 caller?
Yes.
Can you play that for me, please?
It is, Jenny. It really is. Good to see you. Y'all be careful if you're wearing earbuds. Good Lord. Here's your warning. Hey, Connie. Oh, I'm so sorry. I'll be saying prayers for her son. Watch your earbuds. I don't know if it's going to do it again.
Did you terminate that call at that point?
Yes.
Okay. So now after reaching the voicemail for the second time, you terminated the call?
Yes.
Now, after that second call was made, did you take any additional steps?
Yes.
What did you do?
I dispatched Officer Clifford to Myrtle Ave to check the area.
And when you say dispatch, tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what are you talking about when you dispatched an officer?
I radio over the air to the officer by using their badge number, and I give them the information that I had, which was I had a male that stayed at Myrtle Ave, and that it was a 911 hang-up, and if he could check the area.
Okay. Is that standard procedure for 911 hang-up calls?
Yes.
And showing you what's been marked as States 163 is a full exhibit, I believe.
Yeah, no objection.
163 is a full exhibit. Can you tell me, Officer Trosser, whether you recognize generally what this document is? And you have a screen in front of you as well. If
It's not on.
is there a button, an on button there?
How many times has that screen not been on when they needed it? They're doing better today though than they have been every other day this week. Good to see you, Margaret.
While you're doing that, Counsel Attorney Gavin, you had no
You better
objection
not
to
take a break.
162. I just have to accept those exhibits into the record, on the record.
No objection, Your Honor.
Okay, very good. So court will go ahead and accept 162 and 163 as full exhibits. Thank you.
I have Stern's documents to read during the breaks today. I will be putting out videos when I can, but the DA clapped back
The DVD says
for the hearing on the 23rd.
Do you mind to run out?
Yes.
Okay. So do you generally recognize what this is?
Yes.
What do you recognize it to be?
They're called CAD cards. We punch a card for every call that we receive.
All right, and so, first of all, can you tell, does this appear to be the call which you have been testifying about?
Yes.
And it says location, I see Myrtle Ave. What do the 5 zeros mean?
It just means the street.
Okay. Well, if you had a house number, would there be a house number there?
Yes,
So why then the 5 zeros?
because I didn't have a house number.
So all you had was a street name, Myrtle Ave?
Yes,
And other than that, it's showing that it was December 1st of 2019. And we have some information down here at the bottom. Is this what the radio car is receiving? Male caller stated Myrtle Ave before hanging up on the 911 line, and no answer on callback. Officer reports area check clear. Is that a summary of the event?
yes,
So now I see a box here that says dispatch. Is that December 1 of 2019 at 1:59 a.m.?
yes,
Now, you testified that the second 911 call, or the second attempt for you to make the call was at 1:55 and 58 seconds. So is it fair to say that within a minute or two after terminating that second call, you dispatched a car to the area?
yes.
And after you dispatched the car to the area, did you take any further steps yourself?
Yes.
And what did you do?
I called back the number that called into 911 again.
So you're now making a third attempt at calling the number back?
Yes,
I hope Edith is doing better too. Yeah, not all of you. All my lovelies.
So now, does this appear to be you placing the call on December 1st of 2019 at 2:03 and 41 seconds?
yes.
Oh my God.
Who terminated that call?
I did.
Because you reached voicemail once again?
Yes,
I'm showing you what has previously been marked as States 161 as a full exhibit. This is a report
Jen.
prepared by an FBI agent that is a full exhibit in this case. Can you tell me?
So this trial has been going on since Monday. Anders, this is the trial of Jose Morales. He is accused of beating his girlfriend, Christine Holloway, to death, placing her nude in a bathtub and removing her brain from her skull. Their 1-year-old daughter, Vanessa Morales, has been missing since December 2nd of 2019. They reached several plea deals, but he can never come to the terms of the plea deals, so now we're at trial.
Do you see with my yellow pointer here on the bottom of the call-out box on the right side of this exhibit, page 18 of this exhibit, the date December 1st of 2019?
yes,
and just below it, there are a series of numbers, 203-735-1885. Do you recognize that telephone number?
Yes,
What telephone number do you recognize that to be?
the Ansonia Police Department.
So, does this record appear to correspond with, at 1:54 and 33 seconds, this phone seems to be receiving an incoming voice call from the Ansonia Police Department?
Yes,
And again, at 1:55:21, another incoming voice message
Hi, Teresa.
received from the Ansonia Police Department.
yes,
And again, at approximately 1:56, another incoming voice message being recorded from the Ansonia Police Department.
yes,
Back on states 163, you indicated earlier that you dispatched a radio car at 1:59, and can you tell us what this next column, what this means?
is that the officer en route
I
to
think
the
it was
call?
early morning, Jen.
So the officer's acknowledgement that he has the assignment and is en route to the call?
Yes,
And can you tell me what the next column means?
when the officer arrived in the area.
So the officer acknowledged the call and arrived in the general area within the same minute.
Yes,
And what's this last column referred to?
it means that he cleared the call, that he's no longer on the call.
So it took him about 2 minutes to clear the call.
Yes,
Thank you, Officer Trosser. I have nothing further.
Okay, Attorney Gavin, any cross?
Good morning, Officer Trosser.
good
Oh,
morning.
you know he's going to cross.
I'm good, thank you.
Great. Thanks for being here. Just tell me, what did you do this morning in review in preparation of your testimony?
I listened to the 911 call and the 3 times that I tried to call back.
Okay, so you listened to it, and did you review the call log report that we just saw?
Yes,
Okay, great. So you go to work on Saturday, November 30th, and you're working the 11 to 7 shift, is that correct?
correct.
Okay, great. So the first call, which was the 911 call that came in to you, looked like it was about 1:52 in the morning, is that correct?
Correct,
Right, and that call was 1 minute and 14 seconds.
correct.
Okay, and do you know the phone number that that call came in from?
Not offhand.
Okay.
Me too,
As
Teresa.
part of this investigation that continued, did you learn that that was Jose Morales' cell phone?
Later on, yes.
Okay, great. So at the time when somebody withdrawing, that evening at 1:52 a.m. when the call, were you able to determine that it was Mr. Morales' cell phone 203-809-2849 that made that call?
Not that night.
Okay, so when the
So it was 1:52 a.m. Yeah, the baby was one she wouldn't remember. I think it's been 5 years. Has it been 7? Yeah. And there is reports that the baby was seen standing outside the car with him. So I don't know.
when the call comes in, I just want to make sure I understand. I think you told us if it was a landline phone call that came in, you'd be able to track the number back. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Or to the location.
To the location?
Yes,
Sure,
yes.
yeah, wherever the landline is. But if it's a cell phone, the only information that the dispatcher would have back at 911 would be a cell tower location.
Yes, or sometimes it will come up in an area too.
in an area, right?
Yes.
It's not tied to a specific location like a landline.
Correct.
Okay, great. So you had the call at 1:52 a.m. and that do you have an enhanced 911 system with fire, ambulance, and police at Ansonia back in 2019?
I don't remember if we had what we had, if it's been changed, so I don't remember when
Sure.
it got changed.
Yeah, the 911 systems are always changing as the technology improves, but that's okay. So your dispatch, and I just want to go through this slow with you. You get the 911 call, and there's a separate line from the Ansonia PD at 203-735-1885 versus 911. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, but the first call that is the exhibit that we listened to, that was a 911 call,
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
And that's automatically recorded, is it not?
Yes.
Sure, okay. And just so we get this out of the way, that call, you're aware that the call that came in was enhanced, the audio was enhanced so we could hear it better?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And I know you didn't do that. You're right, you didn't do that, but it made it clearer for us and the jury to be able to go ahead and hear the call.
Yes.
Okay, great. So the call comes in at 1:52 a.m., and we heard the 3 times Myrtle, 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 right?
Yes.
Okay, and I know that was your voice, the female voice on the call, responding to Myrtle, Myrtle, saying what number, what number, what number.
Yes.
Okay, great. And then I thought I heard you say that you continued to listen on the call for about 1:14 seconds. Is that correct?
I was on the call for 1:14. Yes.
Great. And while you were on the call, not your voice, but did you hear a female voice on the call at that time as well?
Yes.
Okay. And you told us, I think you said, that the male caller that had called, in your words, was the voice was slurred.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us what you mean by that.
It wasn't clear, I would say. It was slurred.
Okay. I would think, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you're assigned to dispatch on 911, you get all sorts of calls, correct?
Correct.
Right? You get people, there's an emergency and people are very excited, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And you may have my dog ran out the back door, calm, cool, and collective calls.
Yes.
Right? And then sometimes you have calls of people that can be under the influence of alcohol or drugs as well, correct?
Yes.
Right? That sort of happens every day on shift, correct? It's not unusual.
Every day, but
I couldn't say every day, but yes, it happens.
Yeah. Okay. That's something in your career, and I don't know how long you continue to dispatch, but that is not an unusual event, correct?
I don't know.
Sure. Yes.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's just go back to the call, just so we're clear. So the call comes in at 1:52. Myrtle. It speaks for itself. We're not going to go through the whole call. You want to know where on Myrtle you're calling from. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you never got a response to the exact location on Myrtle Avenue from the caller, correct?
No, I did not.
Right. And you didn't know who was on the other end of the call.
No.
Okay, great. But you listened, continued to listen, and you heard a female voice on the call.
Yes.
Okay, and what did you hear the female voice say?
She mumbled something as it sounded like stop, hang up, and who are you talking to?
Stop, hang up, who are you talking to? Okay.
Yes.
And just so we're clear, the female voice is obviously different than the male voice that called and said 911 Myrtle, Myrtle, Myrtle.
Yes, different.
Right, two different people.
Yes.
Okay, and then, so that call was about 1:14 seconds, and then my understanding is the call was terminated by the caller. Is that correct?
Yes.
You didn't hang up on that?
No.
Okay, so now you have this call, you have 2 people, Myrtle, 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 you don't know what it's about, but it's a 911 call.
Hey, Amy.
So it could be a emergent situation, correct?
It could be, but I can't assume.
Right, you wouldn't know because you didn't have enough information based on the call.
Yes.
But it was on the 911 line.
Yes.
Funny, I know he was born in 76, so 86, 96, 2006, 2016. He's 50 this year, so 45?
Yeah,
I would
okay,
think.
so then it looks like, and you correct me if I'm wrong, it looks like from the Ansonia PD number 203-735-1885, there were three
The girl heard on the 911 call was Christine Holloway, the girl that would later throughout the night become deceased.
calls back to the number that you had received on the 911 line. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it looks like the call came in at 1:52. I'm not going to go into the seconds, okay? But it looks like Ansonia PD called back at 1:54, 1:54, and 1:56. Is that consistent with your recollection?
I can't tell the exact time. I'm not sure right now. I
Okay.
mean,
But as you
there's a
said,
lot of times right now.
5 years ago, okay? I'm with you. But you, as you sit here, and I know you're prepared to testify today, you recall that there were 3 calls that came back from the Ansonia PD to the number that had originally called the 203-809-2849 number.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And then after you had completed the 3rd call, is that when you would have had and dispatched Officer Mark Clifford to Myrtle Avenue?
I dispatched him after the first 2 calls.
Okay, so you get the call in, call hangs up, you call back twice, and just tell me in your own words, that's when you would have dispatched Officer Clifford?
Yes.
Okay, and he was out on patrol.
Yes.
Okay, he's going to be here shortly, so it's okay. We'll ask him what he did. But 2 calls back, dispatch Clifford. Did you talk to him, Officer Clifford, when you dispatched him?
Yes.
Okay, and just tell me how that works. How is
Jen, they did respond. They're about to talk about it now, how the cops responded.
it? Is it by the computer that you dispatch the patrol vehicle, or do you call him on his cell phone and dispatch him?
Usually it's over the radio, the air,
There you go, over the radio. So the dispatcher would say to an officer that's out on patrol, we got a call on Myrtle Avenue. Could you go check it out?
Yes.
Right? Okay. And you did that in basic terms in this case?
Yes.
Okay. And then did you have a conversation with Officer Clifford when you dispatched him?
I provide him as a dispatcher, you provide the information you have to them.
Over the radio?
Over the radio,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
Yes.
That's great. And then he went in, did whatever he did. We'll talk to him in a second. And then I think you said you called back the 3rd time. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And that was at 1:56. So it's call back, dispatch, call back.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. And then there was another call from the Morales cell phone, 203-809-2849 at 1:59 to 735-1885. Now, that's not the 911 line. That's the main line, okay? The Morales cell phone called back to the Ansonia PD. Did you take that call?
No.
Okay. And then it looks like what happened was then there was your 4th call back to the cell phone, and that looks like at 2:03 in the morning, Ansonia calls back. Is that correct?
Yes.
Right. So we're just about done. I appreciate so you get the dispatch, you get the call in on 911, you call back 1 time, 2 times, dispatch the officer, call back 3 times, and then there was a 4th call back to the cell phone number.
I remember 3.
Okay. All right. So as you sit here right now, are you aware of the fact that APD called back at 2:03:55 to the cell phone number?
I know at 2:03.
Okay, at 2:03?
Yes.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for your time. I appreciate your help. Thank you.
Just to lay a foundation of whatever, I suppose. There-
Officer Trosser, first of all, when Attorney Gavin was asking you about types of phone calls you receive, I think this scenario went something along the lines of some people can be excited when they call, some people, the dog ran out the back door and they can be calm, and then he asked you about some people can call, they're on drugs and alcohol. Do you remember that question?
Yes.
Obviously, suggesting to you that slurring on the phone call is a result of drugs and alcohol. Clearly, that was the reason for asking that
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
With regard
Yeah.
to,
I knew that was
you
coming.
have, when you hear a person slurring,
Your question was sustained, counsel. Start your question over.
Sure, I am.
Thank you.
When you hear somebody calling in on the line and you hear a voice that you said sounded slurred, do you have any basis to know what is causing, first of all, whether that's even a slur, if it's a natural speech pattern of somebody, do you have any basis of knowledge of knowing why you're hearing what you're hearing?
No.
Can drugs and alcohol create a slur for someone on the phone?
Yes.
Can a medical emergency, such as a person having a stroke or a diabetic emergency or an altered level of consciousness, cause a slur type communication?
Yes.
Have you received calls like those before?
Yes.
Did I hear you mention on the tape as well to whoever was in the dispatch center your impression that you felt that there was a language difficulty with this caller?
Yes.
Do you recall what you said on the tape?
Somewhere along the lines of, I don't think they speak English.
So did you, at least, is that reflective of your mind that you believe that there could be a language difficulty?
Excuse me.
Yes.
Hold on a moment.
I didn't hear anything on the tape about language difficulties. I'm not sure if he's referring to the exhibit in the 911 call.
I'm happy to cue it up.
Okay, so Attorney Gavin, I'm going to overrule your objection at this point in time because it deals with an exhibit that's full and it was acknowledged by the witness. So we'll play it again.
I appreciate that.
So would this comment come after the speaker stops speaking and when you are listening to what's occurring in the background?
Yes.
Hey,
Do
Miss
you
King.
speak with another officer?
Yes.
Careful with your earbuds.
Did you hear your voice?
Yes.
Did you say, I don't think they speak English?
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't know if that was just a clicking of like the call connecting or something. It did sound like that, but at this point she was speaking in the background and saying, "Who are you calling?" So I don't think she had been beaten by the hammer yet, or what we think was a hammer. Yeah,
Nothing further.
Attorney Gavin.
Just one question. I did not hear that at the end of the call the first time, but I just heard it right now. So that was your voice in the dispatch center speaking to another officer, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, you weren't directing those comments to the people on the phone call, it was whoever your colleague was.
Yes.
Thank you. No other questions?
I have nothing further.
Thank you.
No other questions.
Thank you. You may step down. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
You think so, AM?
May I see counsel at sidebar, please?
Oh, now you got a sidebar. I'll be surprised if she don't go to break. Yeah, I think that he might have been like sitting in the bathroom smoking. I've seen people like do that before. They'll go in the bathroom because you can turn the fan on above the toilet to get the smoke out of the house. And considering that there was a baby, if he was still doing his substances in the house, I could see that as being a possibility.
Clifford.
All right, the state would like to call their next witness,
Oh,
please.
thank God. Thank goodness. We're moving right along.
The state could formally call the witness to the stand.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. It's just Officer Mark Clark.
All right, thank you so much. If you would please pay.
I'm sorry, Clifford.
Clifford?
I'm not multitasking well.
All right. Please pay your attention to Madam Clerk. She's going to put you under oath, Madam Clerk.
Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
I do.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and state your badge number for the record, please.
Mark Clifford. Last name is Clifford. Badge number is 53.
Okay, thank you.
You may be seated. Thank you.
Okay. Moving right along
Good morning,
today.
Officer Clifford.
Good morning.
Can you tell us, first of all, who are you employed by?
I'm employed by the Ansonia Police Department
How long have you been a member of the Ansonia Police Department?
since 2012.
And can you tell us a little bit about your background, your training, and your experience?
Yes, I graduated from the Police Academy in 2012. While on patrol, I was a field training officer where I trained other officers when they were hired. And since then, I have been promoted to the position of detective.
I want to call your attention to the time frame of December of 2019, where you were employed by the City of Ansonia Police Department in December of 2019.
I was.
I want to call your attention specifically to the shift that would have started on November 30th of 2019 into December 1st of 2019. Were you working that shift?
I was.
And what time would you have started on November 30th?
That would have been 11 p.m. at night.
And then, so is that considered third shift or overnight shift?
Correct.
And so would have this been a Saturday into a Sunday?
Yes.
Now, I want to call your attention to approximately 2 a.m. early Sunday morning, December the 1st of 2019. Were you working at that time?
Yes, I was.
And do you recall, what was your assignment that evening?
My assignment was the patrol east side sector.
This is Officer Clifford. I do believe he's the one that went out to the house the night that Jose Morales made the 911 call.
Would that include the area in and around Myrtle Avenue in the city of Ansonia?
Yes, it would have.
And shortly before 2 a.m., do you recall where you were?
Yes,
Where were you?
I was on Main Street.
And where is Main Street in proximity to Myrtle Ave?
It is approximately, I'd say about a half mile west of Myrtle Avenue.
And when you received, did you receive a dispatch in and around 2 a.m.?
Yes, I did.
And what was the nature of the dispatch?
It was a 911 hang-up.
And what steps did you take once you received that dispatch?
Once I received that dispatch, I then proceeded to the area of Myrtle Avenue.
Can you pull forward to that mic a little bit?
Thank you.
Thanks.
Once I was dispatched, I proceeded to the area of Myrtle Avenue.
Did it take you very long to get there?
No, maybe a minute or so.
And when you got into the area of Myrtle Ave, can you just generally describe the overall nature, or let's say length of Myrtle Avenue?
It's approximately a half mile long.
No objection. Your Honor, I've seen Exhibit 164. I have no objection.
All right, court will accept into evidence as full states number 164. Thank you.
164 now.
Once again, on 164, which is up on the screen here, if I trace with this highlighter from the left side of the photograph down and along this roadway, working from left to right, is this Myrtle Avenue?
Yes, it is.
And is it fair to say that on the right side of the photograph, Myrtle Avenue is a dead end?
Yes, it is.
And then on the left side of Myrtle Ave, it dead ends into Judson Place.
Correct.
Now, when you arrived in the vicinity of Myrtle Ave, where was the first point that you picked up Myrtle Ave?
The first time I pulled onto it, it was at the intersection of Judson Place and Myrtle.
So now, going to the left side of the photograph, there is a red dot here. Do you know, would that be in the area of 6.5 Myrtle Street, what this red dot is depicting?
Yes, it appears to be.
Cara, y'all are buddy. Officer Hottie, she said. Probably is an a-hole. Look and see if he has a ring on.
Are you generally familiar with the roads in and around the east sector of your patrol assignment?
Yes, I am.
So again, where my highlighter is with the red dot in the left-hand portion of the exhibit, is this a section?
He is not my type. His face is too round and his nose is too pointy on the end. Definitely not my type.
Of Myrtle Avenue here.
Yes, it is.
Is this Judson Place here?
Yes.
Ears are kind of pointy
Is this
too.
West Street here?
Yes.
And is this Cottage Avenue here?
Yes, it is.
So effectively, are you familiar with the location from your patrol assignment of 6.5 Myrtle?
Yes, I am.
So does it generally sit in this rectangular boundary, Judson, Myrtle, West, and Cottage?
Yes.
Strong jawline though.
The driveway to 6.5 Myrtle, are you familiar with where that's located?
Yes, I am.
And where is it?
That is
Right.
on the Cottage Avenue side, closest to West Street.
So back here, is this how someone would enter into the driveway of 6.5 Myrtle, where my highlighter is moving towards the red dot from Cottage Ave?
Yes.
So now,
That's what I was thinking.
when you arrive,
Whimsical. He looks kind of Vulcan.
you said you started at Judson and
Yeah, not
Myrtle
rugged
Avenue.
enough.
So that would just be to the left of 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Right,
Yes.
AM.
And when you arrived there, can you tell us what you did?
Yes. When I arrived on scene, I already had my cruise lights activated, which are stationary red and blue lights that stay on. Once I got onto the street, I rolled my windows down. I activated my takedown lights and side alley lights, which illuminate the area much better.
Okay. So first of all, I need you to keep your voice up, okay?
Okay.
Really project out for us, all right?
Okay.
But if I'm understanding you, so when you got to the corner of Judson and Myrtle Avenue, first of all, are you in a marked Ansonia police car?
Yes, I am.
Does this marked Ansonia police car have a light bar on it?
Yes, it does.
You mentioned something called cruise lights. Can you tell us again, what are cruise lights?
They are red and blue lights that can be stationary, or if activated in emergency, they can glow, or they can
Flash. or
flash.
illuminate?
Correct. Yes.
All right. So are there times that police officers just on routine patrol keep their cruise lights on?
Yes, there are.
And why do you do that?
I do that because it makes you
You're
more
so
visible
petty,
to the
buddy.
public that you're a police vehicle.
So now your red and blue cruise lights are on already as you arrive at call.
Yes.
And now as you get onto Myrtle, you did what with your windows?
I rolled them down.
One window?
Both windows, in the front and passenger side.
Okay. So there are 4 windows in this car?
Yes.
All 4 came down?
Just the front 2.
The front 2 windows. And when you mentioned something also, takedown lights.
Take your phone and set it on the counter so you can take a shower and you can still hear it.
Explain to the ladies and gentlemen what takedown lights are.
Yes, those are lights that we can activate if it's dark out, and it illuminates the area much better than headlights would.
So where are the takedown lights located?
The takedown lights are located facing the front of the vehicle.
Are they on the light bar?
Yes, they are.
Are there any takedown lights on the back side of the light bar?
I do not know.
Okay. You indicated something as well, something called alley lights or alley markers.
Correct, alley lights.
What are those?
Those are the same type of lights. They're located on the side of the vehicle, side of the light bar, and those illuminate the side, passenger and driver side of the police cruiser.
And again, are they used to assist law enforcement officers when they're out of the car to illuminate areas where they're working while it's dark?
Yes,
Would you say they're bright?
very bright.
So now, if I'm understanding you correctly, you've got red and blue lights on. You've got at least your car headlights are on.
Hey,
You've got
Ollie.
your front takedown lights on, and you've got your alleyway marker lights on, all on the light bar in a marked Ansonia police car. Have I understood that correctly?
That is correct.
And you have your windows down.
Correct.
What do you do when you arrive at Judson and Myrtle?
I informed the dispatcher that I arrived on the scene.
And from there, what happened next?
I then proceeded to drive slowly down the street.
So now, as you're driving slowly down the street, you are almost immediately in the vicinity of 6.5 Myrtle.
Yeah, Rhonda, I mean, they lay it out like this. I mean, just to be thorough. They've been really thorough with this jury, but yeah, it's like, okay, can we move on? I get it.
Yes.
Would it be fair
I
to
don't
say
know.
that you continued that slow crawl all the way down Myrtle Ave,
Yes, I do.
from one end to the other?
Yes.
So from one end to the other, you reached the opposite side?
Yes.
And when you reached the opposite side, what did you do?
I then turned around and proceeded back.
The very same methodology?
Yes.
Did you go all the way back to Judson Place?
Just about.
When you say just about, where did you go?
Instead of going all the way down to Judson, I made a left-hand turn onto West Street.
That's this street here.
Yes.
At the 6.5 Myrtle Avenue sit on the corner of Myrtle and West Street.
Yes, it does.
So now, as you're turning on, which way? So you would have turned left on West Street.
Yes, that's correct.
When you turned left, would the back side of 6.5 Myrtle be visible to you while you're in your car?
Yes, it would have.
This is December of 2019. Would it be fair to say there were no leaves on the trees in December of 2019?
I did not see any leaves on the trees.
Did you have the ability with the takedown lights and your alleyway lighting up the right side of the car to see into the driveway and backyard area of 6.5 Myrtle?
Yes, I could.
From the moment you
Hey, Edith.
arrived on the corner of Judson and Myrtle Avenue, all the way down, all the way back, took you about 2 minutes or so?
Yes, that's correct.
Showing you what has been previously marked as states 163. I think you said the street was about a half mile in total length.
Yes.
Is it fair to say that dispatch shows you arriving on scene at 2:02 a.m. and clearing the call at 2:04 a.m.?
Yes.
Does that sound about right to you?
Yes.
During that whole trip from Judson, past 6.5, up to the end of Myrtle, back, left on West, visibility into the backside of 6.5, did you see any persons out on the road that day?
No, I did not.
Did any cars pass you on Myrtle Avenue at 2 o'clock in the morning on that early Sunday morning?
No.
Did you see any activity at all?
No.
Did you hear anything at all?
No, I did not.
Did anybody come out and say, I need assistance?
No.
Your car was lit up like a Christmas tree, right?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
Attorney Galvin.
Hi, officer.
Hello.
Could you read me on that, please?
You know he's gonna cross.
How are you?
Doing well, thank you.
Okay, just a few questions for you.
Yes.
Thanks. Who dispatched you?
That was Officer Trosser. She was working dispatch.
Did you just see her?
Yes.
Yeah, she just left.
Yes.
Right? Okay, great. Officer, can I use the Elmo? All right. Mr. Mestry? Your Honor, I'm going to use Exhibit 164. This is the map.
Thank you.
Put that up there, Pete. Thank you.
I think Basil's waiting to get up on the bed. Hold on.
Okay. Third shift, you come to work on Saturday, the 30th at 11 o'clock, correct?
Yes.
You get in your patrol car and you're assigned a sector, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you go out on patrol, correct?
Yes.
Right, you weren't a detective at that point, you were a patrol officer, is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so you're out on patrol, the shift starts at 11 o'clock, and when was it that you were contacted by dispatch approximately?
That was approximately 2 a.m.
About 2 a.m., okay. And dispatch, did they indicate to you that they had received a 911 call from Myrtle Avenue?
They said that they received a 911 call
They received a 911 call.
and that the individual stated Myrtle Avenue.
Great, okay. And that was Officer Trosser that just left, told you that?
Over the radio, yes.
Yeah, over the radio. I know you weren't with her. Right, she was back at the police station, right?
Yes.
Okay, right, you're out on patrol. And you said you were in the area of Main Street in Ansonia at the time that you received the radio dispatch?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, so, and you knew where Myrtle Avenue was, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, you had been there before, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you traveled from Main Street over to Myrtle Avenue. And Miranda, can I just grab my copy of the map? Because
What is he doing?
Peter,
He's like, what are you?
you could just zoom in at the start.
He's got a look about him. He looks capable of it to me.
Thank you, sir. So, if I understand correctly, you would have went down Cottage Street. Is that correct? This is in the beginning. I just want to take you right from Main Street, not confuse anything. You went over to the area of Myrtle Avenue. Would you have come down Cottage Street, sir?
I believe I went where Cottage and so it'd be a little further north of where this map is. So it'd be like Cottage and South Cliff.
Let me fix that.
Okay.
Do you recall going on Judson Place?
Yes.
Okay, all right. That's fine.
Okay.
So you made the turn onto Judson Place, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And as you went up on Judson Place, then it intersected with the beginning of Myrtle Avenue, correct?
Yes.
And that's in the area where 6.5 Myrtle is. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated, I believe on direct, all right, Peter, can we just, yep, we have that zoomed in. So you went on Judson Place, and then you made the right-hand turn on Myrtle, and you passed 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Yes.
He looks so
Okay.
confused.
And then the next intersection was West Street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And then you would have continued on Myrtle, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Myrtle, that's a residential area, is it not?
Yes.
Houses on both sides of the street. There's commercial establishments as well, correct?
Yes.
Right. You know, like Santini's Pizza is there, for example, correct?
Yeah. Yes.
You're familiar with where that is, right? Okay. Now, Peter, if you could just slide that along. So you went along, right there's good, okay? You went along Myrtle, and Myrtle has a bunch of intersections with neighboring streets, correct?
Yes.
Okay? And I think you told us that you traveled along, you would have passed what's marked as Santini's Pizza, correct?
Yes.
Okay, well, that's great, Pete, all the way down Myrtle, correct? Correct?
Yes.
Following Mr. Mestry's pen, yeah. And then Myrtle Avenue sort of turns up to the left.
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Peter, doing fine. Just continue along on Myrtle, and then it looks like it intersects with Hunter's Lane.
Yes.
Okay. And then it goes up the hill at that point, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And it goes all the way up into an area, and it eventually becomes a dirt road, does it not?
Yes, it does.
Okay. So how long approximately, I know you didn't have your stopwatch out, I get it. How long did it take approximately from the time that you turned on Judson Place on the beginning of Myrtle all the way up to where the dirt road is?
I would say that took probably about a minute and a half.
Yep, okay, that's fine. And you said you didn't see any traffic and you didn't see anyone that flagged you down at that point, correct?
Maybe about
Right.
Great, okay. And then did you turn around up where the dirt road is at the end of Myrtle Ave?
Yes, I did.
Sure, okay. And you didn't change anything with the lights or anything in the patrol car, correct?
No.
You just basically turned around and came back out of the wooded area, correct?
Yes.
All the way at the top, and you came back down the hill, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. All right, Peter, continue, please. And then you went back into the residential neighborhood, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And you continued down through the residential area. Let's stop right there, Pete, okay? And you hit the side streets like we see in the diagram here, Beaver Street and then Garden Street, right? You would have passed all of those?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And you weren't driving that fast, I take it?
No.
No, okay. And I assume because you were dispatched that you're looking around to see if there's anything called to your attention?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then you pass Santini's Pizza Palace, and then you're heading back to the area of 6.5 Myrtle.
Yes.
And at the time that you were dispatched here on December 1st, 2019, 6.5 Myrtle didn't mean anything to you because it wasn't identified as a location of interest by dispatch.
That's correct.
It was just Myrtle Avenue.
Correct.
All of those houses and all of those businesses that are on Myrtle Ave, that's what you were directed to go ahead and patrol.
Yes.
Great. So now you come back, and you hit the intersection of West Street. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you told us you made the left on West. Okay. And then you went down to Cottage, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So from the very beginning, when you turn, that's great. When you turn onto Judson Place, and you made the right-hand turn on Myrtle, and
Hey, Lola.
6.5 was right there. It's located on the grid marking, the designation there. And then you went past 6.5 to West, and then all the way down. You were only in front of the area 6.5 Myrtle for a matter of seconds. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And then when you came back, sir, you went all the way to the end, you get in, you turned around, you came back, you went on West Street. You never circled back and went in the area 6.5 Myrtle, the front of 6.5.
Correct.
Okay. And when you came down West Street and it hit Cottage, you didn't go up the driveway, the backside of 6.5 Myrtle, did you?
No, I did not.
And then, is that when you would have cleared the call with dispatch?
Yes.
Okay, and just tell us what cleared the call means.
That means I informed the dispatcher that I found nothing in the area and that I'm clear for the next call.
Okay, so did you go back to the Main Street area?
I believe so.
Yeah, that's a busier area than up in the residential area of Myrtle and Cottage and Judson.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Your Honor. Thanks for your time. I have no other questions.
Mr. Clifford, when you first arrived on Myrtle and Judson, you put down your windows, right?
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
Because I'd be able to hear if anything was, if anyone needed any assistance better.
When in a quiet residential neighborhood, when you're in your car, aside from your patrol radio, are there any other radios, music, anything else playing in there?
At the time, no, I did not have anything else playing.
And based on your experience of patrolling this neighborhood, others like it, at 2 o'clock in the morning, from within your patrol car with windows down in December, if you heard screaming or yelling, is that something you believe you would hear from within your patrol car?
Objection,
Yes.
Your Honor. Calls for speculation.
Sustained.
It's based on his experience, Your Honor, as opposed to why he puts his windows down.
Whether or not he would hear screaming or yelling calls for speculation. You can ask him if he's had past experience, counsel, but in general, it calls for speculation. Sustained.
Have you, when you put your windows down in your car, you're doing so to enable what?
To hear better.
Okay. Have you been in your car in the past and with your windows down on a similar type of situation, have you been able to detect screaming, yelling, or other types of altercations occurring?
Objection, Your Honor. Relevance.
Overruled.
Yes, I have.
Is that the basis for you putting your windows down?
Yes, it was.
Now, when you, I believe on direct, you said this total street length from up the hill, as Attorney Gavin says, and back down, I think your testimony was it's only a half mile.
Yes.
Right. So that's a half mile one way and a half mile back. It's not a very great distance, is it?
No, it's not.
So when Attorney Gavin was asking you about all the side streets that you're passing, or does anything have to do with the amount of time it took you to go from one end, turn around, and come back to the other end?
Objection to the form of the question.
Overruled.
No.
And during that half mile one way and half mile back the other way, did you hear any screaming or disputes or yelling or anything that indicated there was a problem when you were on that call?
No, I did not.
Overruled.
Relevance is 6.5 Myrtle, which he was by for a couple of seconds.
Overruled.
When you made the left-hand turn on West Street, was it your testimony earlier that Myrtle, 6.5 Myrtle, sits on the corner of West and Judson? I'm sorry, West and Myrtle.
Yes.
And were you able to see into the back side of that property?
Yes.
Did you have your window open in the right side of your car?
Yes, I did.
So now, what would have been about 2 minutes by your dispatch ticket, you went by it, traveled up, came back, you cleared the call in 2 minutes. So you left it the first time and were in proximity to it the second time within 2 minutes. Did you hear any noise through your right window, anybody yelling, any sound like any kinds of break-ins, screaming, fighting, anything with regard to when you turned left from Myrtle onto West?
Objection to the form of the question. He's now testifying. It's been asked and answered, Your Honor.
Overruled. You can answer the question.
You need me to repeat the question.
Please.
When you made the left-hand turn from Myrtle onto West with 6.5 on your right.
I'm surprised she overruled it, because most of the time she does anything for the defense and like objects to all of the or doesn't do anything for the prosecution. Right now I'm surprised that she actually let the prosecution have a win for a second.
Your right side and your window down. Did you hear any sounds of any fighting, yelling, screaming, break-ins, anything that would indicate that there is a problem coming from 6.5 Myrtle, which is just to your right side?
No, I did not.
I have nothing further.
Officer, if you had heard screaming, yelling, or commotion in the area of 6.5 Myrtle, you would have stopped the car, correct?
Yes,
And you didn't do that, correct?
that's correct.
Can you just look at the map? When you turned, when you came back, right? You went to the end of Myrtle and you came back and you turned on West Street. You didn't pass the front of 6.5 Myrtle, right?
That's correct.
And you went down to Cottage.
Yes,
That just took a couple of seconds. Is that correct?
that's correct.
No other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
I have nothing, Your Honor.
All right, you're all set. You may step down. We're going to take our 15-minute break. Court stands in recess.
How did we know that was coming? But I mean, she's doing good today. Better than she has been. Hold on, let me grab my lordy. I have lost my pen. All right. Let's see how far behind we were. Not enough. Okay. Let me pull this up on my phone and then we'll start reading the where the DA responded to Stefan's attorneys. It's the motion to suppress basically everything found from the phone and the Google search warrant. Hold on, let me get it pulled up. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. If you want these documents without the watermarks, you can get them on my Patreon. I've had a couple of people ask. It was showing how much I made a month, which is $57. And it's not $57 a month. It's $5 a month. And that's actually, I mean, in my opinion, pretty good, because some of the people I'm members on will charge money for like each individual item or specific things. Mine is just $5 a month and you get everything. I mean, everything I use on my channel, any FOIA information I get is put on there. So like you could make your own YouTube channel with my Patreon. All right. So this is the state of Florida versus Stephen Michael Stearns. I have the court trial pulled up on my phone. So when they come back, we will, I will go back to that. Where are you chewing on? Okay. All right. So this is the state's response. Basically, the district attorney is clapping back and saying, no, we're going to admit this evidence for this reason. This is the state's response to defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful searches of the cell phone. It reads, comes now the state of Florida by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney and hereby states as follows. Procedural history. The defendant was arrested pursuant to an arrest warrant in the above styled case on February 29th, 2024. On March 11th, 2024, the state filed an information charging the defendant with 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18 from the familial or custodial authority, 7 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation, and 40 counts of unlawful possession of materials depicting sexual performance by a child, 10 or more images. The state provided discovery to the defendant on March 20th, 2024, and discovery has been ongoing. On February 6th, 2025, the defense filed defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful searches of cell phone. The motion alleged violations of the Fourth Amendment to the United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 12 of the Florida Constitution. Statement of facts. On February 26, 2024, what we can assume to be Madeline Soto was... I don't know what that one is. Hold on just a second. I don't know if that's Madeline or something else. So on February 26, 2024, I'm going to assume it says something along the lines of Madeline went missing. Orange County Sheriff's Office. Madeline was reported missing to Orange County Sheriff's Office by her family. The family contacted law enforcement at approximately 4:30. There were 3 calls made to the Orange County Sheriff's Office prior to deputies arriving. At approximately 7:35 p.m., Deputy Joseph with the Orange County Sheriff's Office made contact with Jennifer Soto, the defendant, and members of Miss Soto's family. All individuals were present in the lobby of the business building in which Miss Jennifer Soto's mother worked. Deputy Joseph inquired as to the identifying information for Madeline Soto from Miss Soto and the family. The defendant stated he had dropped Madeline to school that morning. The defendant described Madeline had been wearing a green hoodie, white Crocs, and either blue or black pants. Deputy Joseph was also told that Madeline something taken her cell phone to school that day. She had not taken her cell phone to school that day and only had her school computer. At approximately 7:47 p.m., Jennifer Soto provides Madeline's phone to law enforcement to review. Sworn written statements are collected from the defendant and Jennifer Soto on February 26, 2024. The defendant's sworn written statement states as follows. So this is Stefan's statement, dropped off about a block or so from school, sometime between 8:25 and 8:40, turned around and headed back towards town. I watched in my rearview mirror as she made her way to the direction of the school. She was busy searching through her book bag for something, but seemed to still be moving towards the school, so I carried on with my day. I stopped by a nearby vape shop, but it was closed, so I went home, and I left about an hour or so later to check the shop again. It was open, so I bought my vape juice and returned home. Relaxed with Jim for a while. Later, went out in the afternoon for a few more errands and returned home around 2:30. Jennifer's written statement states, today at 8 a.m., I saw Madeline getting ready for school. I'm not sure what time they departed. Stephen Stearns took her to school and dropped her off close to the school on Town Loop Boulevard between Town Center Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane around 8:30 and 8:45. She never made it to school. I went to school around 4 p.m. to pick her up, and she never came out. I searched the area, went to my mother's office to look for Madeline, and could not find her. At approximately 9:05, hold on just a second. At approximately 9:05 p.m., accompanied by law enforcement, the defendant drove his vehicle to the area he claimed to have dropped Madeline off at. The defendant stopped in the middle of the roadway and got out of his vehicle. The defendant claimed they were standing in the area in which he last saw Madeline Soto. During this time, law enforcement provided the defendant with Madeline Soto's cell phone. Deputy Joseph made contact with a church in that area and went through the video surveillance. At approximately 12:30 a.m., Officer Clark arrived at the home of Jennifer Soto and was greeted by Ms. Soto and the defendant. Law enforcement was actively searching for Madeline unsuccessfully By all accounts, the defendant was the last person to have seen Madeline on the date of February in 2024. Hannah says, I was watching another creator go through the motion to dismiss the evidence from his phone, and there's multiple times where they ask consent for different things, including an extraction. There is. It's in the interviews. Hey, Norma. They're still not back. Okay. On February 27, 2024, at approximately 12 p.m., Detective Hunt with the Orange County Sheriff's Office conducted an audio-recorded interview of the defendant. Detective Hunt swore the defendant prior to asking him questions. The defendant reiterated that the last time he saw Madeline was when he dropped her off for school the day prior. During this interview, the defendant told Detective Hunt that he did not recall the exact time of the drop-off because, quote, he left his phone at home, unquote. It was also during this interview that the defendant stated Madeline slept alone with him in the upstairs bed so Jen could get better sleep. The defendant also told Detective Hunt that Madeline something lived at the residence as well as... Wait a minute. The defendant also told Detective Hunt that at the residence as well when they left her school. That Jen was at the residence? I don't know. At approximately 7:16 p.m., an audio recorded interview with the defendant is conducted by Detective Tangler and Acosta. The interview occurred at the address. The defendant was not in handcuffs and was free to leave. The two detectives who interviewed the defendant were in plain clothes. The defendant stated that he and Madeline left between 7:30 and 7:45. The defendant again reiterated that he dropped Madeline off up from the school the day prior. The defendant's detail their routine on the way to drop her off. The defendant indicated he tried to go to McDonald's near the school. However, he did not stop at the McDonald's. The defendant estimated he dropped Madeline off at approximately 8:20 a.m. to 8:40 a.m. and at approximately 7:37 after the defendant relayed all of this information, the following exchange occurred between Detective Tangler and the defendant. Detective Tangler said, "Do you mind if I look at your maps real quick?" He said, "Yeah, that's fine." She said, "Thanks." The defendant unlocked his cell phone and handed it to Detective Tangler. There is some more clarification with Detective Acosta on the route the defendant took to reach the school and the location where he claimed to have dropped Madeline off. Detective Tangler has the following conversation with the defendant. She said, "Do you mind if I just take a picture of your history?" He said, "Yeah, that's fine." The defendant and Detective Acosta discussed what time classes began at Hunters Creek Middle School. The conversation continued. Detective Tangler said, "What kind of phone is this?" Stefan said, "S23 Ultra, I think." She said, "I don't know how to work this thing." He said, "I'm sorry, I barely know how to work it myself." She said, "I'm an iPhone person." He said, "Oh?" She said, "Is it okay if I go in your settings real quick? I just want to see if you're logged on to your Google." He said, "I'm not logged on to my Google with that, actually." She said, "Is it okay if I check?" He said, "Yeah." There was some further discussion between Detective Acosta and the defendant regarding what type of digital devices they had, and she kept them, I'm assuming. Detective Tangler then had the following conversation with the defendant. She said, "Hold on, I don't know how to use this phone. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt." Brief conversation occurred about, I guess, Madeline's behavior. She said, "Is this what you use to go places?" He said, "Yes, go places, search addresses, look at store hours, write reviews. It's a pretty new phone, though." She said, "When did you come back to help Jen? Is that her name?" He said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Because you live down south. When did you come back up north to help her?" He said, "I just got here this weekend." She said, "Do you remember what day it was?" He said, Sunday. Sunday was her birthday party." So, yeah, it was the evening after her birthday party, Sunday. Detective Tangler said, "Okay, do you remember what time you got here on Sunday?" Stefan said 8 to 8:30-ish, maybe. She said, "Okay." He said, "Just in time to make sure she was doing all her nighttime routines, waiting for her mom to get home." Detective Tangler said, "You live in Northport, right?" And he said, "Yeah, I split my time between the two places." She said, "Is that on Sung Street?" He said, "Yeah." She said, that makes sense. You have a lot of Sung Street on here. He said, yeah, I split my time between the two. Detective Acosta inquired as to whether the defendant and Jennifer Soto went anywhere looking for Madeline on February 26, 2024. The defendant denied knowing whether they went to look for Madeline because he had taken an Ativan the night before because he had been so worried. Detective Acosta then went through the details of the directions for the route that the defendant claimed to have driven to take Madeline. The defendant then went through the discussion again, but this time included timeframes. Detective Acosta then indicated that the defendant's vehicle is not where he indicated it was according to the traffic cameras in the area. The defendant then indicated he went back home because he forgot his gate clicker. At 7:53 p.m., Detective Tangler handed the defendant his phone back. Immediately after handing the defendant his phone back, Detective Tangler stepped away from the defendant. Detective Acosta stays with the defendant and they continued speaking. At 7:57, Detective Tangler returned. Excuse me. And has Detective Tangler returned and has the following interaction with the defendant. Detective Tangler said, can you unlock this one more time, please? And he said, sure. She said, I have a question. He said, yeah. She said, so are you guys done? The other detective mentioned that you did not have your phone yesterday. And he said, correct. She said, tell me about that. He said, I left my phone home in the morning too. I was so busy writing her or getting her out the door that I left my phone. She left her phone. We both left our phones. That statement, y'all brought that up to me before. It's just weird to hear him say I was so busy writing her. It's disgusting. Just reading what y'all are saying. Yep. Okay. Detective Tangler said, did you have your phone when you went to the smoke shop? He said, not the first time after I dropped her off. I was still without it. Ugh. I got it. I got my phone and went back to the smoke shop. She said, okay. He said later when I got home. She said, okay. I also noticed I was checking your call history. I noticed that you don't have anything before this morning. Is that usual on your phone? He said, ugh, no, it's a new phone. Stupid. When I went to do an update yesterday morning, I don't know what the fuck, pardon me, I don't know what the heck I did, but somehow during the massive OS update, I managed to factory reset my phone and lose all my contacts, all my information. Detective Tangler said, uh-huh. And what time was that? Do you remember? He said, oh, sometime while I was hanging out with Jen. Jen might know. I looked at her and said, what did I just do? Detective Tangler said, okay. He said, she might know better. I don't know what time it was. It was when I was here with Jen. Detective Tangler said, okay, I don't think I have any other questions. At approximately 7:59, Detective Tangler advised the defendant that law enforcement was going to hold on to the defendant's phone. The defendant was told he would receive it back when we are done. At this point, the defendant's phone was seized by law enforcement pursuant to this investigation. After this interview ended, the defendant re-entered Jennifer Soto's vehicle and remained in the parking lot of the apartment complex. On February 28, 2024, at approximately 12:16 a.m., Detective Tangler and Detective Acosta conducted a second audio-recorded interview of the defendant. During the beginning portion of this interview, Detective Tangler advised that law enforcement had been going through what I assume to be Madeline's cell phone and noticed a lot of conversations between her and the defendant. Detective Tangler asked the defendant to advise what type of relationship he has with Maddie. Then he stated that she thought of me as a dad, thinks of me as a dad. Less than a minute into the conversation, Detective Tangler has the following exchange with the defendant. Hold on a minute. Let me get a sip of my coffee. Okay. Detective Tangler says, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Your phone, I told you I was going to, hold on to it and that we would like to download your phone, right? He said, okay. She said, is this something I have your consent to do or do I need to get a search warrant for your phone? He said, it should be fine. She said, you're okay with us going through your phone? He said, yeah. She said, okay, can I have the pin to your phone? He said, 42586. Detective Tankler said 42586. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. He said, uh-huh. So the law and argument, consent. Okay. Warrantless searches are per se unreasonable pursuant to the 4th and 15th Amendments unless there is a recognized exception to the warrant requirement. They cite Farrer versus State from 2002, Katz versus State from 1976. Consent is a recognized exception of the warrant requirement. The standard for measuring the scope of consent given under the 4th Amendment is objective reasonableness. They cite Florida versus Jimio from 1991. The state has the burden of showing by clear and convincing evidence that the defendant's consent to search was freely and voluntarily given. They cite Norman versus State from 1980, Bailey versus State from 1975, Saganoas versus State from 1956, Taylor versus State from 1978. For a search warrant to be deemed involuntary, the court must find the defendant's, quote, will was overborne and his capacity for self-determination critically impaired. They cite State versus Gomez from 2010, citing Cox versus State from 2008, Schekencloth versus Bustamante from 1973. The question whether a consent to search warrant is in fact voluntary or was the product of duress or coercion, expressed or implied, is a question of fact to be determined from the totality of all the circumstances. While knowledge of the right to refuse consent is one factor to be taken into account, the government need not establish such knowledge as the sine qua non of an effective consent. As with the police questioning, two competing concerns must be accommodated in determining the meaning of a, quote, voluntary, unquote, consent, the legitimate need for such searches, and the equally important requirement of assuring the absence of coercion. They cite, again, Schekencloth versus Bustamante from 1973. In determining the voluntariness of a defendant's consent to search, the court must look to the following factors. 1, whether the defendant was free to leave. 2, whether there was any coercive police procedure. 3, the extent of the defendant's cooperation or his awareness of the right to refuse. 4, whether the defendant could have refused to consent. 5, the defendant's education and intelligence, and 6, the defendant's belief that no incriminating evidence would be found. United States versus Ramirez, Chile, from 2002, they cite that. United States versus Gonzalez from 1996, they cite the defendant cites to the Riley versus California 2014 for the foundation of their argument that law enforcement overreached the consent given by the defendant and Detective Tangler should have obtained a search warrant. In Riley, the defendant was subject to an arrest for weapons violation after a traffic stop. The defendant's cell phone was in his pants pocket at the time of his arrest and was seized by law enforcement. Law enforcement searched the defendant's cell phone Law enforcement searched the defendant's cell phone incident to arrest. There was no warrant for the search of the cell phone, nor was there consent from the defendant. The Riley court does not discuss many considerations when dealing with digital data. However, the defendant's reliance upon the court's ruling is misplaced. Detective Tangler was not searching the defendant's cell phone incident to arrest. In fact, the defendant was not under arrest. Detective Tangler was viewing data on the cell phone pursuant to defendant's consent for her to do so. The Riley court did not declare law enforcement must always get a warrant before searching a cell phone as claimed by the defendant in page 23 of the defendant's motion. In fact, the Riley court recognized that, quote, even though the search incident to arrest exception does not apply to cell phones, other case-specific exceptions may still justify a warrantless search of a particular phone. Quote, one well-recognized exception applies when the exigencies of the situation make the needs of law enforcement so compelling that a warrantless search is objectively reasonable under the Fourth Amendment, unquote. Citing Kentucky versus King from 2011, quoting Mincy versus Arizona from 1978, the Riley court gives hypothetical examples of exigent circumstances, exceptions, and fact-specific threats that may justify warrantless search, such as, quote, a child abductor who may have information about the child's location on his cell phone, unquote. Quote, the scope of consent to search is generally limited to what a reasonable person would have understood to be the object of the search during the exchange between that person and the police, unquote. See Jacobs versus State from 1999, Florida versus Gimnio from 1991. Law enforcement officers are not required to inform citizens of the right to refuse to a consent to search. They cite Smith versus State from 2000, Scheckenkloff again. The scope of consensual search is determined on a case-by-case basis. They cite Allen versus State from 2005, see also Florida versus Gimnio from 1991. The standard for determining the scope of the consensual search is objective reasonableness, i.e., what a typical reasonable person would understand the exchange of words under the circumstances to mean. Whew. Hey, blue giraffes. Hey, scratch to paint. Okay, so they're laying a good foundation. All right. They're still not back from court, so we're still waiting. Let me make sure. Okay. I thought they were back because I saw something at... Okay. Sorry, another channel confused me. All right. Quote, limited, unquote, consent given by defendant during the interview with Detective Tangler. The defendant does not challenge the voluntariness of the, quote, limited, unquote, consent given by the defendant during the interview. Instead, the defendant claims that Detective Tangler overstepped the consent given by the defendant. The defendant's motion and argument depends on the defendant's misleading and incomplete recitation of the, quote, limited, unquote, consent he gave Detective Tangler during her first interview with him on February 27, 2024. However, the defendant fails to discuss the fact that the defendant unlocked his cell phone and handed it to Detective Tangler on 2 different occasions. The defendant also fails to acknowledge that he allowed and consented to Detective Tangler viewing map data, viewing and documenting the defendant's history, reviewing settings, and viewing the associated Google account and whether it was logged in. Detective Tangler did not exceed the consent given by the defendant during the first interview that occurred on February 27, 2024. At the end of the first interview of the defendant with Detectives Tangler and Acosta, the defendant's cell phone was lawfully seized by Detective Tangler. At the time the defendant's limited consent was given, the defendant was free to leave and did. The defendant was not in custody nor placed in handcuffs. There was no coercive police tactics or procedures utilized by Detective Tangler or Detective Acosta. The defendant provided Detective Tangler with his cell phone and unlocked it for her twice. The defendant was cooperative with law enforcement in his actions and statements. The defendant was not specifically informed that he had the right to refuse consent. However, it was implied in the questioning that occurred prior to the, quote, limited, unquote, search. The defendant could have refused to allow Detective Tangler to review the contents of his cell phone during the interview. The final factor for this court to consider in determining the voluntariness of the defendant's consent to search is whether the defendant believed any incriminating evidence would be found in the place to be searched. Quite frankly, the defendant believed that there would be no incriminating evidence located on his phone because he had factory reset his phone twice on the day of the homicide, believing he destroyed all incriminating evidence. I tend to agree. Hey, CJ Tiki. Defendant's consent to a forensic download of his cell phone. Next, the motion turns to the consent given by the defendant for the full forensic download of his cell phone. The defendant gave consent to law enforcement to download and go through his cell phone during the second interview by Detectives Tangler and Acosta on February 28, 2024. The consent was obtained from the defendant at approximately 12:17 a.m. outside of the residence of Jennifer and Madeline, and the defendant outside of the residence of Jennifer and Madeline, and the defendant frequently visited. Prior to consent for the full forensic download, there is no evidence of prior police misconduct or coercive tactics. The defendant made no attempt to limit or withdraw his consent after he gave it to law enforcement. A reasonable person would understand that giving law enforcement consent to download the cell phone and go through the phone would allow law enforcement access to the contents of the cell phone in its entirety. During the interview in which the defendant consented to the download of his cell phone, he was free to leave. The defendant was at home at the home shared by Jennifer and Madeline, in which he frequently visited and was not handcuffed. The interview took place outside of the residence. The defendant argues that he was coerced into consenting to the download because law enforcement refused to return his phone and there were, quote, threats to obtain a warrant, unquote. However, the defendant's cell phone was properly seized by law enforcement, also advising the defendant that law enforcement would like to download his phone and stating, quote, is it something we have your consent to do, or do I need to get a search warrant for your phone, unquote, is in effect requesting consent from the defendant, as well as advising him of his right to refuse consent. Detective Tangler then subsequently followed up with the question, quote, you are okay with us going through your phone, unquote, at which point the defendant responded, quote, yes, unquote. There were no coercive tactics by detective in obtaining defendant's consent. The defendant, based upon the interactions, reasonably understood that he had the right to refuse consent. The true foundation of his willingness to have law enforcement search his phone is that the defendant believed that he had erased all incriminating evidence from his phone after he performed 2 factory resets on the cell phone 2 days prior. Law enforcement received consent from the defendant to download and review the contents of his cell phone. Law enforcement did not exceed the scope of the consent given by the defendant. Conclusion. Law enforcement legally searched the defendant's cell phone on February 27, 2024 and February 28, 2024 pursuant to the defendant's voluntary consent. Therefore, the defendant's motion seeking to suppress evidence recovered from the searches of the cell phone should be denied. And that's where they certify that a copy was given in on April 5th. Seeing what y'all say. Jose referenced going over to Christine Holloway's house every weekend from Friday to Monday for 3 years, and Vanessa was a year old, so I would say probably about 3 years. They met on a dating website is what we found out from that arrest warrant. All right, let me pull up another document for us to start reading. I will be putting out a video of me reading these documents. By the way, they're still not back. It's been longer than 15 minutes. I know that. She's going to come back at 12 and say, it's time to go to lunch. Okay. So this one's seizure. I think, yes, the one we just did was search. I think this one's the next one. They'll sound the same. Somewhat. Okay. Okay, so this is the state of Florida versus Stephen Michael Stearns. State's response to defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful seizure of cell phone. Okay. Hey, Teresa. She'll be back in 3 minutes to say my tummy's rumbling now. Time to eat. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. All right. State's response to defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful seizure of cell phone. Comes now, the state of Florida, by and through the undersigned assistant state attorney, and hereby states as follows. The defendant was arrested pursuant to a warrant in the above styled case on February 29th, 2024. On March 11th, 2024, the state filed an information charging the defendant with 8 counts of sexual battery on a child under 12, 5 counts of sexual battery with a child 12 to 18 from the familial or custodial authority, 7 counts of lewd or lascivious molestation, and 40 counts of unlawful possessions of materials depicting sexual performance by a child, 10 or more images. The state provided discovery to the defense on March 20th, 2024, and discovery has been ongoing. On February 6, 2025, the defense filed defendant's motion to suppress evidence obtained from unlawful seizure of cell phone. The motion alleged violations of the 4th Amendment to the United States Constitution and Article 1, Section 12 of the Florida Constitution. Statement of facts. On February 26, 2024, Madeline was reported missing to the Orange County Sheriff's Office by her family. The family contacted law enforcement at approximately 4:30. There were 3 calls made to the Orange County Sheriff's Office prior to deputies arriving. At approximately 7:35, Deputy Frank Joseph with the Orange County Sheriff's Office made contact with Jennifer Soto, the defendant, and members of Miss Soto's family. All individuals were present in the lobby of the business building in which Miss Jennifer Soto's mother worked. Deputy Joseph inquired to the identifying information for Madeline from Miss Soto and the family. The defendant stated he had dropped Madeline off for school that morning. The defendant described Madeline to have been wearing a green hoodie, white Crocs, and either blue or black pants. Deputy Joseph was also told that Madeline had not taken her cell phone to school that day and only had her school computer. At approximately 7:47, Jennifer Soto provided Madeline's phone to law enforcement to review. Sworn written statements were collected from the defendant and Jennifer Soto on February 26, 2024. The defendant's sworn written statement as follows. Dropped off about a block or so from school sometime between 8:25 and 8:40, turned around and headed back towards town. I watched in my rearview mirror as she made her way in the direction of the school. She was busy searching through her backpack for something, but seemed to still be moving towards the school, so I carried on with my day. I stopped by a nearby vape shop, but it was closed, so I went home and left about an hour or so later to check the shop again. It was open, so I bought my vape juice and returned home. Relaxed with Jen for a while, later went out in the afternoon for a few errands and returned home around 2:30. Jennifer Soto's written statement is as follows. Today around 8 a.m., I saw Madeline getting ready for school. I'm not sure what time they departed. Steppin Stearns took her to school and dropped her off close to the school on Town Loop Boulevard between Town Center Boulevard and Hunters Park Lane around 8:30 and 8:45. She never made it to school. I went to school around 4 p.m. to pick her up and she never came out. I searched the area, went to my mother's office to look for Madeline and could not find her. Just looking at what you guys are saying. Liar. Hey, hello, kitty. All right, we got movement in the courtroom. I'm going to read the next paragraph and then we'll go back to trial. At approximately 9:05, while accompanied by law enforcement, the defendant drove his vehicle to the area he claimed to have dropped Madeline off for school. The defendant stopped in the middle of the road and got out of his vehicle. During this time, law enforcement provided defendant with Madeline's cell phone. The defendant claimed they were standing in the area in which he last saw Madeline. Deputy Joseph made contact with the church in the area and went through the video surveillance. At approximately 12:30 a.m., Officer Clark arrived at the home of Jennifer Soto and was greeted by Miss Soto and the defendant. Law enforcement was actively searching for Madeline and was unsuccessful. By all counts, the defendant was the last person to have seen Madeline on February 26, 2024. All right, let me write this down and we're going to stop there and go back to court. We're on page 3. What the crap? Hold on a minute. Looks like they left again. Let me pull that back up because they've just left again. While I get that pulled up, I'm going to try to tell you if I can figure out why they left again. Someone said, what just happened? Okay. Sorry about that. Hold on. There is a juror issue, and we have been ordered not to record it while the court speaks with them. Okay, so there's an issue with a juror, and that's what one of the mods said on the news channel for Law and Crime. So they can't record while they're talking to the jury. So I guess the judge is talking to the jury for a second. Okay. So On February 27th, at approximately 12 p.m., Detective Francis Hunt with the Orange County Sheriff's Office conducted an audio-recorded interview of the defendant. Detective Hunt sworn the defendant in prior to asking him questions. The defendant reiterated that the last time he saw Madeline was when he dropped her off for school that day, the day prior. During this interview, the defendant told Detective Hunt that he did not recall the exact time of the drop-off because he left his phone at home. It was also during this interview that the defendant stated that Madeline slept alone with him in the upstairs bedroom so Jen could get better sleep. The defendant also told Detective Hunt that Madeline left her phone at the residence as well when they left for school. At approximately 7:16 p.m., an audio-recorded interview with the defendant was conducted by Detective Tangler and Acosta. The interview occurred at the address. The defendant was not in handcuffs and was free to leave. The two detectives who interviewed the defendant were in plain clothes. The defendant stated that he and Madeline left the home between 7:30 and 7:45. The defendant again reiterated that he dropped Madeline off a little way up from the school the day prior. The defendant detailed their route on the way to drop her off. The defendant indicated that he tried to go to the McDonald's near the school. However, he did not stop at McDonald's. The defendant estimated he dropped Madeline off at approximately 8:20 to 8:40. At approximately 7:37 p.m., the defendant relayed all this information. The following exchange occurred between Detective Tangler and the defendant. Detective Tangler said, "Do you mind if I look at your maps real quick?" He said, "Yeah, that's fine." She said, "Thanks." The defendant unlocked his cell phone and handed it to Detective Tangler. There is some more clarification with Detective Acosta on the route the defendant took to reach the school and the location where he claimed to have dropped Madeline off. Then Detective Tangler has the following conversation with the defendant. Detective Tangler says, "Do you mind if I take a picture of your history?" He said, "Yeah, that's fine." The defendant and Detective Acosta discussed what time the classes begin at Hunters Creek Middle School. Their conversation continued. Hold on. Okay. She said, "What kind of phone is this?" He said, S23 Ultra, I think. She said, "I don't know how to work this thing." Steppen said, "I'm sorry. I barely know how to work it myself." She said, "I'm an iPhone person." He said, "Oh?" She said, "Is it okay if I go in your settings real quick? I just want to see if you're logged on to your Google." He said, "I'm not logged on to my Google with that, actually." She said, "Is it okay if I check?" He said, "Yeah." There was some further discussion between Detective Acosta and the defendant regarding what type of digital devices Madeline had and where she kept them. Detective Tangler then had the following conversation with the defendant. Detective Tangler said, "Hold on. I don't know how to use this phone. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt." Brief conversation occurs about Madeline's behavior. I was looking at what you guys were saying. Detective Tangler said, "Is this what you use to go places?" He said, "Yeah, go places, search addresses, look at store hours, write reviews. It's a pretty new phone, though." She said, "When did you come back to help Jen? Is that her name?" He said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Because you live down south. When did you come back up north to help her?" He said, I just got here this weekend." She said, "Do you remember what day it was?" He said, Sunday. Sunday was her birthday party. So yeah, it was the evening after her birthday party, Sunday." She said, "Okay, do you remember what time you got here on Sunday?" He said, 8:30ish maybe. She said, "Okay, he said, just in time to make sure she was doing all her nighttime routines, waiting for her mom to get home." She said, "You live in Northport, right?" He said, "Yeah, I split my time between the two places." She said, "Is that on Snug Street?" Steppen said, "Yeah." Detective Tangler said, "That makes sense. You have a lot of Snug Street on here." He said, "Yeah, I split my time between the two." All right, court is back in session, and we are on page 6. All right, let me get this pulled up. I wonder what the juror did and got fussed at for. Hold on just a minute. Hold on just a minute. Oh my goodness. Okay. I'm going to back it up just a little bit. That was too far. All right. That should be better. Whew. Rest my throat for a minute. All right. Yeah, they were gone for 30 minutes, not 15, ma'am. She lied again. Basil's laying down by my feet. He's so cute.
Our court will note for the record the return of 13 jurors. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court wishes to address you for a moment. So you'll note that one of the regular jurors is no longer with us. We are going to take an alternate juror and use the same procedure we used before to make that alternate juror a regular juror in this case.
This is like the
However,
third
before we do
time.
that, I just want to advise you that you should not speculate as to why that regular juror is no longer with us, okay? All right, so Madam Clerk, if you could please ask the appropriate.
So they muted it. This is like the third time they had to take an alternate juror. All right, we're live again. Oh, I wonder who this is because I didn't catch it.
Hi there, please enter the stand, remain standing, and face Madam Clerk.
I wonder if
Thank
it's
you.
Hector.
Over here, she's going to put you to oath. It's okay.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, or upon penalty of perjury?
Yes.
Please state your full name, spell your last name, and state your address for the record, please.
I wonder if that's Hector. They blacked out his name, so he's not like a police officer. He's someone who knows him personally. I think it's Hector.
May I proceed, Your Honor?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Raleigh. How are you?
Good.
Raleigh?
Good, thank you. Like to just start off and ask you, in December of 2019, did you have some type of a connection to Myrtle Avenue in the city of Ansonia?
Yes.
And what was that connection?
My aunt lives there.
And where does she live?
6 Myrtle Ave.
And had you been to 6 Myrtle Avenue at times prior to this?
Yes.
Are you familiar with a house next door with the number 6.5 Myrtle Avenue?
Yes.
Now, can you find me the exhibit number for the side of view of Myrtle Avenue of the house? It would be early on. Now, with regard to, I wanted to call your attention to December the 1st of 2019. It was a Sunday. Do you recall whether you were on Myrtle Avenue on that date?
Yes, I was.
And were you with anyone else?
I was with my wife.
And what was the reason for being on Myrtle Avenue on December 1st of 2019?
I was going to move a freezer for my aunt.
Okay. And that was your aunt at 6 Myrtle Avenue?
Yes.
And do you recall approximately what time you arrived in the area?
I believe it was around 2 o'clock.
And do you know approximately what time you left the area?
Around 2:30, 2:45.
Now, when you were leaving the area at around 2:45, can you tell me whether you, when you left when you left 6 Myrtle Avenue, where was your car parked?
In her driveway.
Okay. And did you walk to your car?
Yes.
And when you walked to your car, did you make any observations?
Yes.
What observation did you make?
So when we left out the back of her house and you walk up her driveway, and as soon as you walk out the back, there's a red house
next door, and there was a man standing in the corner.
Okay. And I'm sorry, where did you see him standing?
In the corner of the house by the garage.
Okay. And 1 second, Your Honor.
Sure.
I think this is the one that saw him with the baby. My TikTok creator neighbor, that's a master chef, sent me cookies this morning again. So I'm here munching out on cookies. She cooks on TikTok. She got like she goes viral a lot for cooking on TikTok, and she gives me the cookies. She's a master chef. She went on like one of those programs where you like compete to win. She got second place. It's like it's got like chocolate and candy in the middle, and then there's like those Cadbury eggs. They look like a little nest. It's cute. So the Cadbury eggs are like
Previously been introduced as
the eggs in the nest.
State
They're really cute.
Exhibit 6. And not offering it to you for the snow or any of that, but generally, does this appear to be the building that you're referencing?
Yes.
And can you just, with using your words, tell me where you saw the individual standing?
Yeah, looking at the picture, it's in the right-hand corner.
There's a door here, a window, and a door. Can you just,
To the right of the door.
which door?
The door on the right-hand side, not the, yep,
This door?
yep,
So somewhere over here?
yep.
And the record reflects, Your Honor, at least in State's Exhibit 6, there is a door with a dark window towards the back part of the picture, and my highlighter is just showing to the right of that door.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raleigh. And with regard to the observation that you made, can you tell us why your attention was called to that person standing there?
It was a very windy, cold day, and I think it was snowing or raining, and it was just odd that someone was standing there on his cell phone. It just didn't seem right.
Did you make any observations about the person's clothing?
I was just wearing a hoodie.
And at that time, is that the reason why you took notice of the person?
Yes.
Had you ever seen that person before?
No.
Did you, with regard to at least that moment in time, did you take any further action with regard to that individual?
No.
Did you climb in your car?
Yeah.
And what happened after that?
We went home.
All right. At some point in time, did you become aware of an incident that occurred on Myrtle Avenue the weekend that you had visited?
Yes.
And did you take any steps to contact the Ansonia Police Department?
Yeah.
What did you do?
I just called and told them what I saw.
Did they ask you to come to the Ansonia Police Department?
No, they actually came to me, I believe.
Okay. And when they came to you, did they ask you to do anything?
Yeah, they asked me to give a statement and then look at some photos.
Okay. Can you describe the process for us as the photos that you looked at?
Yeah, they just gave me individual photos one by one, and then once I went through them, I identified somebody and marked my photo.
Okay. As part of that process, no, just continue. 165 is full, Your Honor, with no objection from the defense.
No objection, please, Your Honor.
Thank you for making the record. Court accepts 165 in its full.
Showing you what has now been marked as States 165, Mr. Raleigh. First of all, with regard to these documents, do you generally recognize, let's start with this page.
Yes.
And does this appear to be a document that was shown to you by the Ansonia Police Department?
Yes.
And does it state witness instructions regarding identification procedures?
Yep.
And that it occurred on December the 4th of 2019 at your home on Prindle Avenue?
Yes.
And did they ask you to read all of the instructions contained on this form before looking at the photographs?
Yes.
then I think you indicated that you looked at each of the photographs. They gave them to you all at once or one at a time?
One at a time.
And after you went through the series of photographs the first time, did you go through it a second time or any additional time?
I'm not sure.
Okay. After going through and seeing all the photographs, did you tell them that you believed that you were able to identify one of the individuals?
Yes.
Showing you what has been, what is the third page, and I'm sorry, Your Honor, States 165 is a stapled 3-page document.
Thank you.
Showing you the third page of that document, is this the photograph that you stopped on?
Yes.
And what did you indicate to the Ansonia Police Department about this photo?
That's the man I saw standing in the corner of the garage.
Talking on the cell phone?
Yes.
And ultimately, did they ask you?
I want to know if they figured out who he was talking to that morning, because that's supposedly during a time period where he doesn't remember anything. I mean, if they could figure out who he was talking to, that might tell him where the baby is.
To place your name on this photograph.
Yes.
Do you see your signature there?
Yes.
And likewise, was it dated with this acknowledgement, with your acknowledgement that the photo contains the suspect?
Yes.
Did they then ask you, back on page 2 of this document, to sign this acknowledgement and statement with regard to the identification?
Yes.
The document says, I, Patrick Raleigh, acknowledge the above instructions have been read to me by Detective Esposito, and I fully understand the instructions. I have viewed the photos and have identified number 7, and then under witness comments regarding identification, handwritten, saw man in photo on cell phone, stand in back right side, 90% sure on the photo. Is that what you told the police?
Yes.
Whose handwriting is that, do you know?
That's mine.
And did you subsequently then sign and print your name to this document?
Yes, I did.
Now, I realize it's 5.5 years since this time frame, Mr. Raleigh, but as you look around the courtroom today, do you see the person that you saw on December the 1st of 2019 at approximately, I'm sorry, what time did you say it was approximately?
About 2:45, 2:30, 2:45.
Do you see that person presently here in the courtroom today?
Yes.
And would you please point to where you see them person seated and to physically describe what you see that person wearing?
No, sitting over there, he's wearing a gray shirt, gray checkered shirt, gray and black.
May the record reflect that by pointing as well as by clothing description, he's identified the defendant, in this case, Jose Morales.
The record shall so reflect. Thank you.
I have nothing further.
Can I have those, please? Yeah, both. Yeah. I'm Mr.Raleigh. How are you?
How you doing?
Right?
Let's put the picture up first. Your Honor, may I approach the witness and the OMO, please?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Thanks for being here. So it's about almost 5.5 years ago since you had interaction with Detective Esposito. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right. So I want to make sure I'm going through your testimony accurately, and you correct me if I'm wrong.
Okay.
On Sunday, December 1st, in the area of around 2 o'clock, you went over to Denise Hunt's house. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yep.
And tell the jury who Denise Hunt is.
She's my aunt.
Right? And she lives at 6 Myrtle Avenue.
Yes.
Correct? And you had been to your aunt's house previously, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And you were with, I think it was your girlfriend at that point.
Yes.
Kristen Stahl, correct?
Caitlin.
Caitlin, I'm
Yep,
sorry,
that's okay.
Caitlin. My bad. Caitlin, and now she's your bride.
Yes.
Okay, gotcha. And you were there to move a freezer, is that what you told
Yep.
us?
Yep.
Okay. And you weren't really there that long, is that correct?
No.
No? Okay. Your aunt lives up on the 2nd floor, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you know who George O'Meara is?
Yes, I do.
Where does he live?
He lives on the 1st floor.
Okay, right? And 6 Myrtle and 6.5 Myrtle are adjoining properties, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, right. And so you got there at around 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and forgive me, I know one of the photographs has snow. Was it snowing, raining, windy?
It was doing. I can't remember, but there was something. It was.
Okay.
That's why it made stand out. Someone was standing outside in the back. It was very odd.
I don't want you, if you're not sure, just let me know whether it was snowing or raining, but you're not sure at that point.
Yep.
Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you said that I think you said that you were upstairs moving the freezer. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And how long did it take to go ahead and do that?
About 20 minutes, half hour.
Okay, great. And were you swapping out a freezer? Or?
No, it was on I believe it was in the garage, and we just moved it up to her, upstairs.
You carried it?
Yeah, me and my cousin.
Oh, there was somebody else there. Who else was there?
I believe my cousin.
What's your cousin's name?
Jeffrey.
Jeffrey what?
Hunt.
I'm sorry?
Hunt.
Hunt. Okay. Wouldn't have been nice for your aunt to have you just alone carry the freezer from the garage up to the second floor, right? Okay. And how old is Jeffrey Hunt?
He's deceased. He's deceased.
He's deceased.
Yes.
Okay. And 5 years ago, approximately how old?
I'm not sure.
Okay. I mean, was he a teenager? Or
No,
was he
30s.
in his 30s?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. And I'm sorry. I apologize. You said he's deceased.
Yes.
Is that correct? Okay. So you're at your aunt's. You have your future bride with you. You have your cousin with you. You go to the garage and you move this freezer up to the second floor, right?
Yep.
Okay. And that took a half hour or 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Okay, great. And did you have to do anything else in the
No.
apartment that day?
No.
No? Okay. Mr. Mestre, could you show us, I think it's marked as Exhibit 6. Can you see that on the monitor right in
Yes.
front of you? Okay, great. So what we know, and I just want to be clear with you, that Exhibit 6, we're not claiming any of that snow was there, okay?
Yeah.
Because the following day it snowed. So you said that you entered or exited, excuse me, let me start over. I think you testified that you left 6 Myrtle through the back, is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
And then you came around on the driveway that would have went down to Myrtle Avenue.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The driveway sits parallel from this picture. You can see the car, where the car is in this picture. That's our driveway.
Okay, good. That's the sort of end in the bottom right-hand quadrant of Exhibit 6 is a car that would have been located
Yeah,
in the
that's
driveway.
where my aunt's driveway is.
Okay, great. And is that where you parked?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, okay, all right, we're doing fine. So you came around the back of 6 Myrtle towards the driveway. You would have got in your car in the driveway to back down to Myrtle Avenue. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, I always back in when I park, so I just would have pulled out. But yeah.
Okay, all right. So you backed in originally, and then you would have pulled out.
Yep.
Okay. Now let me just go slow here. When the 3 of you left your aunt's house,
Just me and my wife left.
okay, and Jeffrey Hunt stayed with
Yeah,
your
he
aunt?
lived there.
He lived there with your
Yes.
aunt? Okay, gotcha. All right. So, but he came there with you?
No.
Or was he there already?
Yeah, he lives there.
Okay, I'm sorry, I don't know, I don't know this. So when you and your bride-to-be arrived, he was already on site? Because
Yes.
he lived there?
Yes.
With your aunt that
Yes.
lived upstairs on the second floor?
Yes.
We're good?
Yes.
Okay, all right, great. So you and Caitlin went ahead and left after half hour, 45 minutes. Is that correct?
Yes.
Great. And you come down the driveway, and you looked over to the area 6.5 Myrtle. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, it's when you come out of her backyard, it's right there. You
Oh.
come out of the gate and you're looking straight and you see that back corner.
Okay, great. And are you familiar with that property at all?
Yes.
Hi, Miss Hill.
Okay, you know there's a 3-car garage
Yes.
underneath the apartment?
Yes.
Yep. The monitor has to take it down, so just let me finish the question before you answer.
Okay.
I know you know the answer already. It's very difficult when we both speak at the same time.
Okay.
Thank you. And you're doing fine. Okay, so you leave, you're familiar with the property.
Yeah.
You know there's a 3-car garage underneath 6.5 Myrtle Avenue, correct?
Yes.
All right. And then I think you told the attorney Stein that on the side of the property, there is a door, then a window, then another door. Is that correct?
Yes.
And you saw an individual over by the second door closest to the garage at the back of the house. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay. And you told Attorney Stein, correct me if I'm wrong, you had never seen that individual before?
No.
Right. How often back in 2019 did you visit your aunt's house?
I don't know. It depends. I do a lot of work at her house for her.
Okay. All right. So you were there on a regular basis?
I would say a regular basis is just if she needs something done, she calls me. I'm the go-to in the family.
Oh, okay. It's good to have a go-to.
That's right.
Right? Okay. So, I mean, would you see your aunt once a month, once a year?
Once a month, I would say is a good average.
Okay. Just an estimate, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you saw the individual at 6.5 Myrtle in the back,
Miss Holmes, this was in Ansonia, Connecticut.
you told us you had never seen that individual before. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Yes.
And you didn't go down and approach and say, hey, hi, what are you doing here, or introduce yourself? There was no contact whatsoever between you and that individual.
No.
And what did you observe that individual doing?
He was on his cell phone.
Okay, all right. And then you got in the car.
Yep.
Okay, and Caitlin got in the car.
Yep.
So just tell us, when you came out the back of 6 Myrtle, you turned down the driveway, you looked over into the adjoining yard, you saw that person. How long did you look at them?
The time it takes you to, I opened the gate, held it for my wife, and then walked up the driveway. So 10 seconds.
Okay, and when you looked over across, did you just glance across for a second or two?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, it was quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure, okay, and then you got in the car and didn't think anything of it.
No, I said to my wife, like, that was strange. Why was he standing there?
Okay, that somebody was there because you
Yeah.
didn't know who they were?
No.
You didn't know who the neighbors were?
Nope.
Okay, all right. And it didn't get to the point that you thought it was important, for example, to go confront the individual?
No.
Right? And, you certainly didn't go ahead and call the police and say, hey, there's something strange going on next door?
Nope.
No, you just went about your business?
Yep.
Checked off the moving the freezer chore,
Yep.
correct? Okay, okay. So you only saw the individual for a very brief period of time? Yeah?
Yep.
Correct? Okay, got in the car. Now, Peter, we're all done with that. Could you, Peter, could you put the next exhibit? That was Exhibit 6, Your Honor, for purposes of the record.
Thank you.
And Peter, what number is that?
165.
165, Your Honor. We're going to refer to Exhibit 165.
All right.
Okay, Peter, could you put the front page, the first page on there for me? Can you see that okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Now, it looks like you went ahead and you interacted with the Ansonia Police Department on the 4th. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know who Detective Richard Esposito is, sir?
Yes.
Okay. Just tell us who's Richard Esposito.
It's the officer in the Ansonia Police Department.
Okay. All right. And that's who you had contact with. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So how was it that you came in contact with Officer Esposito? Did you reach out to the...
I called the Ansonia Police Department.
Okay. And what day, if you recall, did you call the Ansonia
I
Police?
believe it was on Monday.
On Monday?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm not 100% sure on that.
Okay. And this was on Wednesday, the 4th, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So it was a couple of days had gone by? And did the detective actually come out to your house?
Yes.
Okay. You didn't go to the Ansonia
No.
PD? Okay. And I take you were cooperative with the officer?
Yes.
Correct? Okay. And Your Honor, if I may just come over here for a second.
Certainly.
You were given a form, and it's entitled Witness Instructions Identification Procedure Form, correct?
Yes.
And sir,
I'm not sure,
the
Ms. Holmes.
top third of it, there was an agency case number. See that?
Yep.
And then there was a date on the 4th,
Yep.
and a time, that's military time, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And the location is 28 Prindle Avenue, Ansonia, Connecticut.
Yes.
Is that where you resided at that time?
Yes.
Okay, all right. And whose handwriting is that, if you recall?
I don't recall.
Okay. And I take it you had never filled out one of these forms before?
No.
Is that there?
Yes.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm just going to turn the page. second page of the exhibit. Now, did you fill this out, sir, or
Yeah.
did the officer fill it?
No, that's my handwriting.
It's your handwriting?
Yes.
Okay. So, Your Honor, just for the record, second page, top portion of the exhibit, it says, I, Patrick Raleigh, acknowledge that the above instructions have been read to me by Detective Esposito, correct?
Yes.
Right? And I'm sorry if I asked you this, I apologize. Had you ever met Detective Esposito prior to that?
No.
Or since?
No.
No, okay, one time, right? And you told us that he had shown you a series of photographs, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and you picked out one of the photographs, I think you said number 7, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what the other photographs were of?
No.
In the handwriting portion, it says witness comments regarding identification. Do you see that, sir?
Yes.
Okay, in your handwriting, saw a man in photo on cell phone stand in back right side. Okay, was that referring to 6.5 Myrtle?
Yes.
Okay, and then you indicated 90% on the photo. Is that correct?
Yes.
Because you aren't 100% sure.
Yes.
You only saw the individual for a very short period of time, correct?
Yes.
I'd never seen him before.
Nope.
Never seen him since,
Nope.
correct? Okay. So you were accurate with the police officer when you said to him, I can't say for 100% that that's the individual I saw.
Yep.
Thanks so much for your time. I have no other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you. Any redirect?
Mr. Raleigh, when you were looking at those photographs that the officer gave you, could you say generally, were the photographs of people similarly featured?
Yes.
Meaning, the photograph that you picked out shows a man with a big beard, hair. For instance, were there people in this array of African American descent?
No.
Were there people? I guess the question is that were you shown similarly featured people when you were being asked to look at these photos?
Yes.
And despite now being shown these photos, of all the photos that they showed you, you stopped on number 7.
Yes.
And that's when you indicated 90% certain.
Yes.
And again, out of your own independent recollection, prior to coming into court, did you have an opportunity to review your paperwork that you provided to the police?
Yeah.
But as you sit here now, do you have an independent recollection of the man that you stated earlier? Is this the man you saw outside?
Yes.
I have nothing further.
No other questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, thank you. You may exit. Thank you.
Thanks.
The state may call its next witness.
Who's the next witness? Yeah, he was sure of who he saw. What are you chewing on, baby?
All right, let us just hold on for just 1 minute. We're just going to formally call you to the stand.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay?
This is
that Hector?
Christopher Picarelli, Your Honor.
Thank you very much.
Christopher-
All right, sir, thank you.
Picarelli.
If you can just come around, enter the witness box, and remain standing, Madam Clerk is going to put you to oath, okay? Thank you. Madam Clerk, could we first put the witness under oath so he can take a seat?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or solemnly and sincerely affirm, as the case may be, that the evidence you shall give concerning this case shall be the
They redact his spelling of his name and his address. His name is Christopher Picarelli.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
What? I hate when they lose the feed like that. Hold on, let me go to the other one. Lord have mercy.
To it so we can all hear you.
What is going
First
on?
of all, can you tell us once again what's your name?
Right.
Christopher Picarelli.
And do you have a business?
Yes.
What is your business?
Valley Motorsports in Ansonia, Connecticut.
Okay. There you go. Just free internet publicity just went out for you. With regard to that, do you have any connection to 6.5 Myrtle Street in Ansonia, Connecticut?
Yes, my wife owns the property. My wife and I.
Okay. What's your wife's name?
Carrie Watson.
All right. And with regard to the property, can you generally just describe it for us?
So it's a 3-bay garage on the bottom floor, and it's on a 3-sided corner, and the apartment access is on the back side of the opposite side of the street from the driveway, and I'd say it's a half-acre lot, and you cannot access the apartment from the garage, and it's totally separate from each other.
Okay. So let's focus on two separate things. First of all, so 6.5 Myrtle, there's a garage you told us about. Is there a residential unit?
Yes, there's an apartment on top of the garage.
Okay. And are there tenants, or were there tenants in December of 2019 who were occupying that apartment?
Yes.
And do you know the name of the tenants?
Christine Holloway.
All right. And with regard to the property, the garage area below, did the tenant living in the residential unit have access to the garage area below?
No, he did not. No, they did not.
Who controlled the garage area below?
I used the garage area.
For what purposes?
It was my workshop, or it is my workshop.
And tell us a little bit about what's inside
I have ATVs and side-by-sides and toolboxes, and it's my workshop with Valley Motorsports. I'm into motorcycles, and I use it as my personal garage.
Okay. So I'm going to put up for you on the screen, States 10 is a full exhibit. Can you tell me, first of all, if you generally, when I get the right direction for you, do you generally recognize what this is?
Yes, that is the 3-bay garage, the 3 bays of the garage that I use, yes.
Okay, and immediately above, in the photograph, the center bay, there appears to be a gray dormer with a window. What is that?
That is the bay window in the kitchen of the apartment.
Residential unit upstairs?
Yes.
And the windows for this garage here, are you able to see through them and into the garage?
From the outside, not really, because it is tinted.
Okay. Showing you now what's been marked State 6 as a full exhibit.
Hey,
Can
Anna.
you tell me whether you recognize what this is?
That is the property. That is lower level is the back hallway of the garage. You have one entry door on the back side, and 2 entry doors. The further entry door in this picture is the door that I would normally use.
So where my red pen is that the door that you're referring to?
Correct.
And the record can reflect, Your Honor, he's indicated it's the bottom right-hand corner, door closest to the bottom right-hand corner of the photograph.
Thank you.
And so that is a door. Where does that doorway lead?
That doorway leads into the main garage.
Okay. And now I'm relocating my pen to the center of the photograph, bottom part of the photograph, There's a second door here to the front corner of the property. Where does that door lead?
That door leads to a hallway that is attached to the back to the garage. There, at one point in time, there were stairs to get into the apartment from that access point, but the stairs were removed prior to us purchasing the property.
And then there are two windows to the right of the door and to the left on the front facade of the brick foundation there. Where do those windows look into?
The said hallway where the stairs once were.
Okay. And are you able to see through those windows into that area?
No, I have them covered with curtains or blinds.
Also now, there are two more additional windows on the front side of the property now, moving to the far left-hand corner and to the center portion of the front wall. What do those windows look into?
The middle window would be into the hallway, and then the further window would be into the bathroom. There's a bathroom in the lower portion of in the garage.
Okay, so do I currently have the red pen positioned at the bathroom, the downstairs bathroom window?
Correct.
And using again the red pen, there is what appears to be a doorway here behind some wooden railings on the top portion. Are you able to identify what that is?
That would be the entry door to the apartment.
All right. And now, this going back to the bathroom in the garage, is there anything directly above the bathroom in the garage in the residential unit?
Yes, there would be the bathroom in the residential unit.
All right. So, how many bathrooms in the residential unit?
One.
How many ways in and out of the residential unit?
One.
So this is the only way in and out?
Correct.
And that the only bathroom in the residential unit would be directly above the bathroom.
Abellis. Oh my God, girl, calm down. Yes, they found her in the bathtub upstairs.
In the workshop area.
Correct.
I want to call your
It is
attention
a name here.
to the weekend immediately following Thanksgiving of 2019. Do you remember that weekend?
I do.
And why do you remember that
Bridget.
weekend?
I was over
Hey, Janice.
in the garage working on. I was at the time I was still building the garage, and I was working on a wooden sign box, like for a large Honda dealer sign, and I was building the box to hang the sign on the wall.
And first of all, looking at you today, you have a very well coiffed beard on you as you sit in court today. Did you have that facial hair in 2019?
I had a mustache and maybe a little bit down here, not nearly what this was.
And would it be fair to say your hair is red or brown or ginger color?
Yes.
Was
Yes.
it the same color hair back in 2019?
Yes.
So now, with regard to that weekend, did there come a point in time where your mother joins you at the property that weekend?
Yes.
So, and do you recall which day that was?
That was on Sunday.
All right. And would that be December the 1st of 2019?
Correct.
All right. And talking to, and you were there on Friday and you were there on Saturday as well?
Correct.
Was your mother with you there on Friday or Saturday?
Not that I know of, no.
Okay. Well,
No, she was not there.
all right. So the only day she was with you was on Sunday?
Correct.
So now, do you recall what time you arrived at the property on Sunday, December the 1st?
2 o'clock,
And do you recall what time you left?
6 o'clock.
And you're very certain as to your times?
Yes.
Are you able to tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury why you are very certain as to the times that you arrived and that you left?
I have GPS locations of my phone. I have screenshots of my phone from the GPS locations of while I was there.
At some point in time during the course of a subsequent police investigation that you participated in, did you otherwise refresh your recollection as to your times that you were there by looking at the screenshots that you had taken of your phone?
I did.
And is that how you are able to recall with specificity when you were there?
Correct.
So now, staying on the Sunday, December the 1st, you said you arrived at 2 o'clock, and what exactly was your purpose? What were you doing?
I was building the large frame for the Honda sign that I was trying to hang on the wall.
Okay. And when you say you're building, describe the process for us a little.
I was using power tools, drills. I was using a compound saw, cutting wood, cutting 2x6s, and yes.
And what was your mom doing when you're doing this?
Assisting me holding the 2x6s, and while I would cut the wood, she would hold one end of the wood so it wouldn't fall, and yeah, she was assisting me with the process.
And at some point, let me show you what has been marked. This states as 166. It's a full exhibit, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Up on the screen. Do you generally recognize what this is?
Those are the sign, the boxes, and the Honda sign that I was referring to.
Okay. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit tighter. So first of all, can you just tell us about some of the things that we're seeing in this photograph? And there's a monitor there for you as well.
So there is my UTV side by side in the center. I have
that water
two
bottle.
pre-built sign boxes leaning up against the side of the UTV, and then in the foreground is the part of the Honda sign in the box on it, what I believe is a table.
So this guy owns the property, and he uses the 3-car garage thing that's downstairs to do work for his business, which is like motorcycles, ATVs, things like that.
And then I got a table saw in the back right corner, and then some storage boxes in the left, and then the file cabinets in the left. And if you go around the back corner, there's a refrigerator and more file cabinets and the bathroom that I was referring to earlier.
And can you tell us again about the bathroom? Where exactly is the bathroom? Can you see it in this photograph at all?
So the bathroom would be in relation to the Honda Pilot sign that's in the left corner. If you're standing underneath that Honda, that Pilot sign.
Okay, so if I, for the
Yes.
record, Your Honor, I have my pen pointing towards the upper left-hand corner of the screen. There is a black sign with red lettering towards the ceiling. Is that the Honda sign there that you're referring to?
Correct.
Let me actually.
So if you stood underneath that, the bathroom door would be immediately to your left.
All right. And then again, is it so under this? Is there a hallway? What's over there?
So it is I'd say 10 foot by 10 foot recess off the back of the garage, and then the bathroom is to your left.
Is that the hallway?
Yes, the width of the hall. It stays with the width of the hallway.
So back on state 6. So that front door there.
Correct.
Goes down the hallway, and here's the window here.
I can't see where you're
What's that on the
pointing.
screen,
Oh,
Counselor?
sorry. So into down this hallway, and this is the bathroom window here?
Yes. Yes.
And that's the bottom left-hand portion of the foundation, Your Honor, underneath the wooden railing. And so coming at it from this direction under the pilot sign, you walk back into that same hallway and there's the bathroom?
Correct.
So now, and we left that the bathroom for the upstairs is almost directly above the bathroom here.
Correct.
Oh, wow, Nessa.
So now, again, just kind of help us all understand the apartment above. So from the perspective where this photograph is being taken from, what's behind the photographer's position here?
In the apartment?
Yes.
So it would be living room space. You would be looking at the kitchen facing the direction of this photo. Behind you would be what I would call the living room.
Okay. So we're looking at this perspective from the Judson side is behind me.
Correct.
And I'm looking across the apartment effectively towards west.
Correct.
And Myrtle would be to my left.
Correct.
So from this perspective of where you are now, the bathroom is sort of up in this direction. My arm is in the left-hand position. Your Honor, elevated to the front left.
Correct.
So now, when you were there between 2 and 6, did you make any observations?
I did make an observation. I was at one point using the saw and I heard what sounded like movement of furniture upstairs, and it was enough noise to have me stop what I was doing and conversate with my mother, who was also there with me, and just ask what is going on upstairs.
So, is it fair to say you go to this garage often?
It is.
Okay. And in times when you've been there before, have you been aware that there's a tenant upstairs?
Yes.
And what types of sounds would you hear in the past with regard to tenants?
You could hear walking upstairs, pitter patter of feet, and normal. Nothing that was, I'd say, out of the normal. Nothing.
I'm wondering.
Heavy movement, anything of the sort.
In terms of this separation between this garage workshop area for you and the residential unit, did you take any steps at the time that you created this with regard to separating out insulation and noise between the two places?
Yes. At the time when we purchased the property, there was no insulation or sheetrock in the bathroom ceiling or in the back hallway area either. Because I wanted to use the garage as a workshop and there were people living upstairs, I took steps to try to sound deaden or denten the hallway and the bathroom, because I was going to put an air compressor in the back hallway and I wanted to keep the noise down. So I put sheetrock up in the hopes to try to quiet it down.
And the garage itself, is that otherwise also sheetrocked and insulated?
Correct.
And therefore, based upon your normal activity at this time, you're aware at times of other tenant movement.
Correct.
But was this episode now on December the 2nd, was that typical of the type of noises that you would hear?
No, it was loud. It was louder than normal.
And again, can you describe what it is that you thought was going on?
It sounded like somebody was moving furniture.
And am I understanding you correctly that the sound of this noise was of sufficient quality that you stopped working with power tools that you were using?
Correct.
And did I understand you correctly that you said something to your mother about it?
Yes.
And how long did this go on for?
I'd say a minute or so, a couple minutes max.
Okay. And did you then continue on with what you were doing?
Correct, I did.
All right. I have nothing further. Thank you.
All right, so
Your
this
Honor,
is a
I'm
good
going to
time.
have the witness for a little while, so I
Yeah.
was wondering if we could take the break in this junction.
We would go into lunch recess. May I see council sidebar before we do that, please?
Okay. So they're going to recess and we're going to recess. I got my thumbnail ready because I've been using the same ones, but I'll see y'all back here in an hour. That's interesting that there's a dinosaur under your house, girl. Nessa, sorry. All right, thank you for being here this morning. I will see y'all in an hour. I got to get the baby some lunch, so I'll be back in an hour. Love you guys. See you then. Thank you for being here. Bye.